Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Just joined Rocks. Fusion Saitama Template. Chapter 61. After crossing a distance of 100 meters, they came to Chinzi in an instant, carrying a body of great strength, and directly slammed into Chinzi, as if they were human-shaped cannonballs and they could feel the scorching heat in the air breath. At this time, Chinzi's whole body was tense, and the red light on his body became more and more dazzling, just like the blood vessels inside the body surface, which appeared outside the body surface at this time, clearly visible. Boom! The loud noise reverberated throughout the island. The Marines watching the battle from a distance covered their ears one after another, and the binoculars in their hands were thrown aside at this moment. The air wave swept away from the center where the two collided, and the burst of air wave went straight into the sky, even blowing away the clouds in the sky. Some buildings close to the battle area collapsed under the impact of the airflow, throwing a cloud of dust on the ground. Some islanders, hearing the noise, thought that a natural disaster was coming. Looking at Chinzi and Zephyr on the field, they had already separated at the moment of impact, and at their feet, there was a piece of ruins. "You are strong. Among my peers, I can be called one of the best." At this moment, Zephyr's chest was heaving violently, and the blood on his body was dripping down his fingertips. He looked at Chinzi on the other side, and admired him sincerely. In his marine career over the years, he has seen countless talented opponents, but none of them can match himself to this level at this age. However, this also means danger, especially when the other party is a big pirate in the Rocks Pirates. "Come again." Zephyr let out a low cry. His eyes were piercing at this moment, and he stood there, extremely chilling, ruthless, as sharp as a supremely sharp knife. Sensing Chinzi's gaze, Zephyr twisted his neck slightly, held his breath, bent his body slightly, clenched his fists together, the knotted muscles on his shoulders glowed black, and stood up inch by inch. The air around his palms moved at an incredible speed. Spiral condensation. Compression. Recompress. Under the huge pressure, the originally invisible air condensed into substance, and a layer of faint purple-black appeared. 6 styles, 6 King's gun. Suddenly, with Zephyr's cold shout, a fist-sized air bullet was ejected. His eyes were fixed, and the air around him was still twisting. Boom, boom, boom. The continuous muffled sound came out, and the air bombs formed by extremely high pressure fired continuously, forming a shocking scene in the air like a peacock spreading its tail. It's just that they don't have the colorful colors of Madara. These air bombs only have one color, purple-black. These air bombs, which contain terrifying power, are all locked on a target. Chinzi. At the same time, on the other side, Chinzi's 3 colors were in full bloom, and his aura suddenly rose. The violent breath pushed away layers of invisible waves around him. Exhaling a foul breath, Chinzi's eyes were like lightning. He inserted his hands into the ground, the veins in his hands popped up, and he let out a low drink. Seriously turn the table. Boom. The entire ground was lifted up by Chinzi's powerful installation. Earth and rocks splashed, as if it was the end of the world. A huge clod of soil covering the sky unexpectedly appeared in the air at this time. Chinzi waved his arms, and the clods of soil flew towards the distance at an extremely fast speed, aiming at Zephyr. What kind of monster is this? It just lifted the ground. It's as simple as eating and flipping the table. What kind of strength is needed to do this? It's like a walking human monster. Zephyr instructor also used his signature skills, so it doesn't matter who is stronger. Don't compare blindly, you will know if you look down. Quote. Zephyr on the other side, looking at the giant clods of dirt that slammed into him. Next moment, the purple-black air bomb in front of him drove straight towards the unbelievably large clod, hitting it like a meteorite. Immediately, under the violent shock wave, the sound of explosions resounded frequently, and the shattered stones in the air shot out to the surroundings, and the dust all over the sky flew wantonly. Everything was shattering. When the dust settled, there was still an earthy smell in the air, but dust several meters thick had already accumulated on the ground. Far away, Zephyr is still in the air. What kind of operation is this? What an unexpected move. If there is anything else, use it as soon as possible. Armament Hockey's body was filled with black mist, and his temperament was extremely chilling, without any hesitation. Zephyr's figure flickered, and he settled down. Bang, bang, bang. The heart was beating powerfully and rapidly. the pitch-black body released terrifying energy fluctuations, and the surrounding black mist spread out for about 1 meter. With clenched fists, all space is distorted. 6 styles. The largest round of 6 king guns. In an instant, countless purple-black air bullets burst out, condensing together and turning into a cylindrical light wave. Zephyr yelled violently, the muscles on his body bulged by nearly 10 centimeters, the purple hair on his head stood upright, his arms tightened and loosened, and the purple-black beam of light expanded a few centimeters. Terrifying energy is distorting space, as if a black hole appears. At the same time, Qin-Zi's figure flashed, and he backed away. He was already standing in the sea water, and the aura on his body suddenly dissipated, forming wavy streaks in the air, as if he was being scorched by high temperature. Staring with both eyes, Qin-Zi let out a low snort. Serious nourishing water gun. A huge water cannon was fired at Zephyr. One left and one right, one white and one black. The beam of light collided with the column of water, and for a while, it was hard to tell the winner. Under the continuous strength of the two, a vacuum was formed at the center of the beam of light, and even the sound of the collision was completely swallowed up at this moment, and everything seemed to become quiet. However, under the tranquility, the expressions of Qin-Zi and Zephyr were extremely solemn. Sudden, the eyelids of the two twitched. The energy is going out of balance. Whoosh! The two of them withdrew their strength at the same time, and immediately flew to a high place. In the next second, there was a loud noise between the beam of light and the column of water, and suffocating power scattered in all directions. In an instant, under the huge energy release, the seawater is evaporated, forming water vapor in the air, and the vast expanse of whiteness is like a fairyland. Not only that, the monstrous seawater was sucked into the explosive energy center in an instant, and at this time, accompanied by the evaporated mist, the seawater in the sky suddenly fell to the ground at this moment, and the terrifying scene seemed to be caused by anger. The demon is bursting into anger. And the Marines in the distance, seeing this scene, were all panicked, their eyes staring like copper bells. The seawater flew into the sky. Is this a scene from hell? How can it be so strong? What can the strong in this world do? In front of them, I think we are actually inferior to ants. When can it become like this? Quote, this terrifying scene, in the eyes of the Marines, hit the bottom of their hearts. They were not only shocked by Qin-Zi's unfathomable strength, but also realized the gap between themselves and the real strong in this world. Everyone's heart was ignited. Strong desire, hope that one day I can grow to this point. Your moves are really strange. Even the name is so strange. Zephyr had a strange expression when he heard the name of the move Qin-Zi called out, as well as the ability displayed. These moves do not have any fighting skills, they are simply relying on the terrifying physical body and powerful strength to fight. Turn the table, water gun. These children's tricks, in the hands of Qin-Zi, can actually exert such great power, which has to make Zephyr amazed. What a monster! At this moment, Zephyr can only use this title to express his inner opinion, because if he does not have the 6 styles and those fighting skills, he may have lost the battle not long after the fight. Compared with the guys in naval headquarters who claim to be outstanding in physical fitness and talent, they should really be pulled over to see what it means to be someone who is beyond others. You are strong, but justice must prevail. Zephyr let go of his thoughts, sank, his body tensed again, covered in armed colors, and the moment he disappeared, he kicked out with his right leg, and the rapid kick burst out with scorching heat, even burning the air. The entire right leg was covered with raging flames. Isn't this Sanji's move? Feeling the heat wave blowing towards his face, Qin-Zi frowned and couldn't help complaining. Next moment, the calf covered with emission directly shook up. At this moment, without any pause, the two of them turned into a black lightning once again, and began to violently confront each other again and again. Boom, boom, boom. The battle lasted for a long time, the two rays of light separated, merged, separated, merged. Under such a staggered vertical and horizontal pattern, the 4 directions of east, south, north and west are fully blooming. A series of terrifying shock waves scattered out, the atmosphere was torn apart, and Wangyang was blasted into huge waves of more than 10 meters. The earth and rocks collapsed, and half of the island was turned into ruins during the battle. The fighting intensity is extremely high. During the fierce battle, Zephyr was more and more surprised as the confrontation progressed to the end. Where is Qin-Zi's physical upper limit? Although the physical fitness of the strong in One Piece world is very terrifying, it is like Admiral of Headquarters Aokiji and Kizaru fought on a certain island for nearly 10 days for the position of Marshal. But the battle between the two of them is definitely not going all out and using the ultimate strength to confront each other. But Zephyr at this time is different. As a leader in close combat, his physical fitness is only stronger than those Devil Fruit admirals behind him. But whether it is using the highest level of armed color, returning life, or 6 moves, they are all moves that consume a lot of energy. In this state, Zephyr can hit the sky for 2 days. But what surprised Zephyr was that his opponent, Shinzi, seemed to have endless physical strength. Although he was beaten into the air by himself before, he did not suffer any damage at all, and during the fight, he could clearly feel that the strength and speed of the opponent did not decrease, but became more and more excited as he fought. Zephyr pulled away and jumped aside after a powerful blow. A little bit of sweat dripped from his forehead, and the wound on his body burst open again due to the excessive explosion, with blood flowing. Why is this so? Is his physical strength inexhaustible? Could it be that Shinzi is stronger than me now? Thinking of this, Zephyr looked at Shinzi's young face. Such a thin body can contain such terrifying energy, and it also has a seemingly endless stream of physical strength. A sense of powerlessness arises spontaneously. At this time, in Shinzi's heart, he was also thinking about this question. The physical strength of the strong in this world is really terrifying. From the beginning of the hand-to-hand combat between the two sides to the frequent moves now, Zephyr can still live with himself so many moves when he is injured. And I even used the serious series, but still failed to defeat the opponent. Although it is said that this is because the training time is too short and my own strength stretches my hips, but it is only compared to teacher Saitama, my own moves are still very powerful. In this world of pirates, it's not that easy either. But I didn't expect Zephyr to resolve it with 2 moves and 6 moves, and without the slightest sluggishness, he suddenly broke out again in an instant, and fought back and forth with himself. It seems that I still underestimated the powerhouses in this world. I thought that I would have no problem handling people like Marine's Garp, but when facing Zephyr, I was already struggling. Still need to get stronger, it takes time. At this time, the two of them had their own thoughts in their hearts, and since they separated, they had a tacit understanding and had no choice to make another move. Zephyr squirmed the muscles on his body to stop the bleeding from the wound, and restrained his aura. He knew that it would be impossible to catch Shinzi in a short time, so he continued to fight with his current state, although he could wait until the end of the headquarters. Support arrives. But looking at the ruined island, there are all ruins. The previous fighting has scarred the area. If it continues, the island is likely to be sunk in the battle. None of the residents above will survive. This is something he cannot see as a marine general. In the face of the safety of a Shinzi and the lives of the residents of an island, he would choose the latter without hesitation. Thinking of this, he looked up at Shinzi, his eyes revealing calmness, and he spoke slowly. Shinzi, how about our truce? At this moment, Shinzi was still thinking about how to proceed with the next battle, and was suddenly taken aback after hearing Zephyr's words. He didn't expect that Zephyr, who was Marine Vice Admiral, would make peace with a pirate. Looking at Zephyr who was looking at him at the moment, Shinzi frowned, analyzing the reason. There are 2 possibilities. One is lack of physical strength. The current state of Zephyr is just an appearance, and his physical strength can no longer support him to continue fighting, at least he cannot defeat himself. The second is that they are unwilling to continue fighting, because the disadvantages of continuing to fight outweigh the advantages, and the disadvantages should be the condition of the island and the safety of the islanders. Of course it is also possible to have both. But which one is not important to Shinzi, because he doesn't want to fight for a long time. If he continues to fight, he won't talk about whether he can kill Zephyr. People from naval headquarters are already coming to support him. After all, there was no blood feud between Shinzi and Zephyr, and there was no need to fight to the death. The current situation was purely forced by the situation. Moreover, the money I won from gambling before has not been exchanged yet. If I continue to fight and sink the island, all previous efforts will be in vain. Thinking of this, Shinzi raised his head, his voice was calm and indifferent. Okay, agree to a truce. After all the armament hockey on Shinzi's body faded to express his attitude of truce. The clothes on Shinzi's body were tattered, and after the blackness disappeared, his bronze-colored skin was exposed to the sun, giving it a different kind of beauty. And at this time, in an unknown area in the distance, Marines are watching the two closely. What's going on? Both Zephyr Instructor and Shinzi stopped working. Wait until the armament hockey on Shinzi is gone, and the hockey on Zephyr Instructor is also gone. What's the situation? Has the battle been decided? No, no one fell down, both of them seem to have stopped. This is actually a truce. Seeing that the two did not attack again after a wave of confrontation, Marine felt a little puzzled. After seeing armament hockey disappearing from their bodies, he realized that there should be some kind of possibility, a truce. It is good. Seeing that Shinzi directly agreed to his proposal, Zephyr was slightly surprised, but he didn't bother to care about the reason. The next time I see you again, I will send you to Impel Down prison with my own hands. Putting down a harsh word, Zephyr didn't delay any longer, and the observation hockey was turned on. After sensing the position of Marine, he jumped towards that position. Not for a while, Zephyr came to the Marines. Zephyr Instructor. The soldier who was still holding the binoculars at the moment suddenly found that Zephyr Instructor had come to his side. With a shake of his hand, the binoculars fell to the ground, and he said quickly. Zephyr nodded, glanced at everyone, and was about to speak. Puff! A mouthful of blood suddenly spat out from Zephyr's mouth, and the expression on his face suddenly became a lot weaker. This is the sequelae of returning life. At this time, Zephyr does not need to enter the fighting state, and naturally relaxes his whole body and mind, and those bad feelings suddenly invade like a tide. Zephyr Instructor. Seeing Zephyr vomit a mouthful of blood, the Marines called Zephyr's name again, but compared to the first time, the Marines' tone this time was full of worry and anxiety. In the past, Instructor, who was resolute and unyielding in front of them, and could easily deal with any pirate in front of any pirate, now looks so embarrassed in front of them, and everyone feels very uncomfortable. Go. Retreat. Zephyr wiped the remaining bloodline from the corner of his mouth with his hand. Without saying any more nonsense, the voice reached Marine's ear, extremely majestic. Originally, he wanted to stay on the island and wait for the naval headquarters to come to support him, but considering that his current state was a bit poor, he stayed too much on the island, and if Shinzi found out, another battle might be inevitable. Hearing this, the Marines immediately tidied up, lined up, and headed towards the Marine warship. Shinzi also heaved a sigh of relief after seeing Zephyr leave. The momentum of his body was all introverted, his muscles and bones loosened, and a soreness came over him. This is a symptom that only occurs after the muscles undergo high-intensity anaerobic respiration. Glancing at the ground after the fight, Shinzi shook his head. He could only describe it in 4 words: the ground was devastated. Fortunately, the fight started in the suburbs. If it was in a lively urban area, the aftermath of the fight with Zephyr alone would be enough to destroy all buildings. Withdrawing his mind, Shinzi looked in the direction of the casino, where there were still some things to do. By the way, there is also that old man John. Bending his knees and raising his legs, Shinzi's figure jumped up and disappeared in place. At this time, in a luxuriously decorated room in the casino. Zephyr Vice Admiral is here. No matter how powerful Shinzi is, he can only die. Hearing the sound of fighting in the distance, the scene must have been extremely tragic. Shinzi probably won't be able to escape. A big pirate actually came to my casino and killed a high-priced gambling master of mine. But I didn't expect that. First called a Marine Branch Rear Admiral, and it would be Zephyr Vice Admiral. I don't know if Marine will reward us after Shinzi is arrested. Maybe it's not impossible to give us a legal right to operate the casino. You really have to fight hard for what you said. Maybe you can really clear it up from now on. In the room, the casino owner, the treasure appraiser, and the shorter man are chatting with each other. Ever since they made that informant call, they have always hoped that Marine would send someone with strength over here. After all, the person here is Shinzi, the captain of the Rocks Pirates. If they are killed, then they will not be much better. After all, after the fact, it is easy to find out that they told Marine the secret. And this time, when they learned that the person who came was Zephyr, they were all overjoyed. Zephyr's strength and status in naval headquarters, for those of them who have been on the dark side all the year round, they couldn't be more clear. That is the existence that will inevitably press Shinzi to the ground and rub against it. At this point, these people were already thinking about how to claim credit from Marine in the future, and even thought about the way to legalize the casino. However, while they were still discussing heatedly, boom, the door of the luxury room was directly blasted open by a huge force, and the loud noise reached the ears of the three people, and they turned their heads to look at it quickly. Before they had time to yell, after seeing who was coming, the expressions of the three of them suddenly changed, and their minds went blank. Chin-Z, the three of you are enjoying chatting here. I don't know if it's convenient, can you tell me? Chin-Z looked at the three people whose faces were pale at this time and was too shocked to speak, and said in a frivolous tone. Why are you here? We're talking about those Marines. Those Marines will come to my casino, there must be some villain reporting. We have to find him out and chop him up. The casino owner pretended to be calm at this time, and the appearance of Chin-Z reminded him of very bad things. But no matter what, at this moment he knew that he had to keep calm, because the more flustered he was, the more he would make a big mistake. However, when he looked at Chin-Z, the big pirate, his body was still trembling uncontrollably, making it difficult to speak. A little shivering. Oh, I see. Don't shake your body. Marine has nothing to fear. Don't worry, those people have been beaten away. Chin-Z smiled and said calmly. Hearing this news, the boss of the casino seemed to have a thunderbolt in his mind, his eyes widened, and he was speechless for a while the expressions of the other two were not much better at this time. The news that Marine was beaten away made them seem to fall from heaven into the abyss for a while. Thinking of something suddenly, the casino owner quickly said. What about Zephyr? Where is he? Isn't he a Marine? Chin-Z said lightly. Suddenly, his face suddenly turned cold, his tone was like frost, and he continued to speak. This Marine is the letter you reported. Chin-Z looked at the three of them silently, and did not make any further rounds with them. Nope, we run a casino, why would we take the initiative to contact Marine? You must have made a mistake somewhere. The casino owner's face was like that of a pig's liver, and he was still trying to explain. The old man is also yours. Chin-Z ignored the casino owner's words, but continued to speak. While speaking, he looked at the short man with self-evident meaning. This time, none of the three spoke again, because the moment Chin-Z said this, they seemed to have lost all their strength and slumped on the chair. The matter was completely revealed, and it turned out that Chin-Z knew all along that they were the clowns. Seeing San Sheng's lifeless look, Chin-Z's expression changed again, and he spoke slowly. Exchange the chips I won. Don't worry, do this well, I won't hurt you. While speaking, Chin-Z threw the packed chips in front of the three of them. Hearing this, the casino owner saw that things seemed to be turning around, so he opened his mouth quickly. Good, good, come with me, and I will fetch it for you myself. While speaking, he hurriedly walked outside, because he was extremely scared, and almost fell when walking on the flat ground, and the other two hurriedly followed after seeing this. Chin-Z leisurely walked towards the position where the chips were exchanged, waiting for the casino owner to send the money. There, John was there, but he was still in a coma. Not for a while. The casino owner and two others came over with a big bag of money. Your total chips are 27.8 million Baileys, all of which are here, not a penny less. Oh, Chin-Z took the money and responded with a smile. Then, he slapped John, who was leaning on the chair, and the power was transmitted from the palm into his body. Don't sleep, get up and work. John, who was still in a coma, suddenly felt something hit his mind subconsciously. He woke up suddenly, opened his eyes, and saw Chin-Z staring at him. He stood up abruptly, and looked again. The surrounding environment is actually a casino. There is only one possibility to explain the current situation. Chin-Z defeated Zephyr and brought himself back to the casino. Suddenly, John remembered what Chin-Z said just now, and frowned. Work. Immediately, following Chin-Z's eyes, he found that the three casino people were standing there, and he immediately understood. PFF'd. Just for a split second. The western sword in John's hand suddenly flashed a cold light, and quickly slashed across the necks of the three of them, and 3 bloodstains already appeared. Not for a while. The three of them clutching their necks fell back. Plop, plop, plop. The muffled sound of the 3 corpses falling to the ground became the last sound they made in this world. HMPH. Play tricks with me and report. John cursed, shaking off bits of bloodline from the sword. As an experienced casino gambler, John had already discovered that the short man's hands and feet were dirty when he gambled with him, but he didn't catch any substantive evidence, and Marine would come here, obviously divorced from the casino owner. Don't get involved. After dealing with the three of them, Chinzi signaled John to leave. John smiled and didn't leave in a hurry, but disappeared in front of Chinzi. After a while, he came out of a room with a big bag in his hand. No need to think about it, Chinzi also knew what was in it. What? Shaking his head, Chinzi didn't say anything, turned and left the casino. Seeing this, John immediately followed with his bag. On the coast of the island, a luxurious lifeboat docked quietly at a corner. John and Chinzi, who came out of the casino, were on the lifeboat at this time. Originally, according to Chinzi, he wanted to buy some things on the island. After all, the money would not be used on the boat if he brought it back home. It's the door shut. And based on time, the people from naval headquarters should be here soon. In order to reduce unnecessary conflicts, Chinzi decided to leave directly. After putting away the money and treasures he won from gambling, Chinzi pulled up the anchor that fixed the ship, looked at John who was sitting in the bow, and said, "Navigation, back to the rocks." Hearing this, John sighed, took out the recording guide and map from his pocket, looked at it carefully, glanced at Chinzi, and said slightly, "I can navigate the whole journey, can I reduce my debt?" Hearing John's words, Chinzi's forehead darkened, and he glanced at him with great disgust. When he came, he was more active than anyone else, and took the initiative to take charge of the whole route. When he returned, he actually started to raise prices on the ground. "You have two choices, either navigate now, or I'll get you down, and after taking the bag of money beside you, I'll navigate." While speaking, Chinzi's fist was shaking in the air. Seeing this scene, John smiled embarrassingly, and hurriedly spoke. "Just kidding." After finishing speaking, he started the ship and headed towards the direction of the rocks. On the blue sea, a marine warship is advancing on the sea. Hundreds of marine soldiers stood on the deck with a look of desolation on their faces. At the forefront of them, Marine Vice Admiral Zephyr was sitting on a chair, and a ship doctor next to him was bandaging his wounds. The mission to encircle and suppress Chinzi ended in failure, and Zephyr and everyone present were responsible, but the situation must be clearly reported to naval headquarters, especially Chinzi's current strength. Cough cough. Zephyr, whose body was covered in bandages, coughed twice, his towering chest heaving violently. Then he waved to the people beside him, his voice was low and hoarse. "Phone bug. Go get the empty admiral's phone bug." Naval headquarters, Marineford, on a huge conference table. Kong, he, Sengoku and a group of marine executives sat around the round table, everyone's faces were extremely serious. They have already heard the news of Zephyr's defeat. Although it is called a peaceful truce, for Marine, failure to capture the pirate is a failure. Call Garp back. There is no need to go there anymore, Chinzi must not be on the island now. Kong supported his head with his hands, his expression was solemn, and his voice was calm and powerful. After getting the news of Zephyr in naval headquarters, Kong responded in time and sent people to support. The captains of the two Rocks pirates must appoint a powerful marine general. With Garp's volunteering, they let him take some marine soldiers directly to the island where the casino is located. But in the current situation, this mission has failed, and Zephyr retreated, Chinzi left, and support was completely unnecessary. Hearing this, a marine executive next to him picked up Garp's phone bug and relayed Kong's words. And Kong, looking at the crowd, continued. Zephyr is now on his way back to the headquarters. There is nothing serious about his health. Just rest for a few days. Hearing this, Sengoku, Crane, and other high-level officials all felt a little less serious. Zephyr's injury is not a big problem, which is what they expected. And based on the information learned during the battle between Zephyr and Chinzi, we can make a simple summary of his strength. Chinzi, captain of the Rocks Pirates, owner of Conqueror's Hockey. Conqueror's Hockey is thick and oppressive, a grade stronger than Zephyr. Observation Hockey, perception and perception range, is currently at an advanced level and has not reached the point of predicting the future. Armament Hockey, in a high-level state, can use both emission and internal destruction, and is extremely smooth, and is the most skilled hockey among the three hockey. Skills to use. Seriously lift the table, serious water gun. His physical strength can be called a monster level. In the battle with Zephyr, he has never been exhausted, and there is a tendency to become more courageous as he fights. Based on physical fitness alone, it is a grade stronger than Zephyr in terms of speed, strength and explosive power. What Kong said, every word he uttered was resounding, and everyone present could hear it clearly, and the more they heard it, the more shocked the expressions on their faces became. The owner of Conqueror's Hockey has almost reached the level of Grandmaster, and his physical fitness is stronger than that of Zephyr. This Shinzi has grown into an extremely dangerous existence. Sengoku frowned, and his eyes under the round-rimmed glasses revealed a look full of fear. He couldn't be more clear about the strength of Zephyr. As the outstanding marine of the same period, Zephyr's melee ability even avoided Garp by 3 points. In this battle, according to Zephyr's description, he used Life Return, 6 styles, martial body, but he still failed to take advantage. The opponent didn't have any skills at all during the battle, and only used 2 moves. Kong continued, 2 moves, it's serious about flipping the table and spitting out the water gun. These 2 don't sound very good. The resourceful General Crane said at this time, when Kong mentioned these 2 moves just now, he was thinking about what these 2 moves are, and he also mentioned it at this time. Yes, it sounds like a child's trick. But the power is amazing. Seriously flip the table. Put your hands into the ground, and lift up a huge piece of ground with brute force, and use it as a throwing stone. In combat, Shinzi used this move to deal with Zephyr's 6-style 6-king combo gun. Seriously squirting water gun. It literally means that it sprays out a huge water column through high pressure, resisting Zephyr's 6-style beam of light. When Kong talked about this, he actually couldn't believe it himself. If Zephyr hadn't told him himself, he would definitely think that the person had some kind of mental illness and had this hallucination. This is really simple and rude. Without fruit ability, you can do this step. What kind of monster is this? If this allows Shinzi to learn fighting skills, his strength will definitely rise to a new level. Hearing Kong's explanation of these 2 moves, Crane couldn't help being stunned for a long time before continuing. Yes, it can be said that his current potential and the prestige gained from killing celestial dragons are probably in the Rock's pirate group, and only Rocks can compare with him. When Kong said this, he revealed deep helplessness. 1 Rocks was enough to cause headaches for the world government and marine. Now there is another monster similar to him, and things are getting more and more difficult. When the others heard Kong's evaluation of Shinzi, they all gasped, and Kong could say such a thing, which showed that Shinzi's degree of danger was even more dangerous than Rock's. But after thinking about it, they could understand that Shinzi's age and decisiveness really deserved this evaluation. Boo boo boo, boo boo boo. At this time, the phone bug that had been sleeping on the round table suddenly rang. Kong shook his head. No need to think, he also knew who it was. Reaching out to pick it up, the phone bug that was originally held in his hand suddenly jumped up like an electric shock, coupled with his angry tone and ferocious expression, all showed the fury on the other end. This is the function of the phone bug. It can not only talk, but also accurately express the tone and expression of the caller when speaking. Kong frowned. What a terrible feature. On the other end is the ruler of the world government, the 5 elders. What do you eat at naval headquarters? Shinzi was finally singled out from the Rock's pirates, and you guys let him run away. Hurry up and find a way to arrest Shinzi, we can't let him continue to grow. Now that Shinzi has developed a certain reputation, this is a disgrace to the world government. It is the same for you Marines. An arrogant person who dared to kill celestial dragons will never allow him to live so long. And the Rock's pirates, why haven't you taken any action yet? They are on the route without hindrance at all. The voice of the 5 elders seemed to be roaring, sweeping like a machine gun, and Kong didn't say a word in the middle, regardless of whether others could bear it or not. After a while, the anger over there seemed to dissipate a little. Sort up and report the details of this battle between Shinzi and Zephyr. Yes, okay. After briefly reporting the matter, Kong hung up the phone, complaining inwardly. With the current strength of the Rock's pirates, naval headquarters can't win at all. It's easy for you to talk, just close your mouth and you're done. This matter still needs to be considered in the long run. Suddenly, Kong had a flash of inspiration. Since the strength of naval headquarters is not enough to destroy the Rock's pirate group, how about cooperating with other forces? An unknown area on the sea. A huge pirate ship is slowly advancing, and the logo on the sail makes every pirate group who sees it run away. Because this is the recent, famous, Rock's pirate ship. In a cabin on the rocks, Akoku and Silver Axe are sipping wine and chatting. John and Shinzi went out this time, don't know when they will come back. Silver Axe picked up the wine on the table and filled his empty bowl. Open your mouth and say. Come back. What do you think John will do when he invites Shinzi out this time? Akoku picked up a bowl of wine, took a sip, and said slowly. With John's character that loves money like his life, there must be no good fart anyway. Ha ha ha. Indeed, based on his relationship with Shinzi, he would actually go out with Shinzi and put us both here. Then there is only one explanation, it's for money. I guess he's trying his best to squeeze Shinzi now, and finally got him a big money maker. How could he come back so soon? Akoku put down the bowl in his hand, stroked his long beard, and smiled. Ha 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 ha. This John really can't walk when he sees the money. He looks at what's in the bowl and thinks about what's in the pot. But it's okay, Shinzi has been in the limelight for a while, and it's to make him suffer a bit. It's time to file his spirit. After all, young people should not be too arrogant. Silver Axe drank the wine in the bowl, slapped it on the table, and laughed. Then he picked up the huge battle axe beside him and walked out, but when he was about to open the door, there was a knock on the door. When he opened the door, he saw a member of the Akoku team standing there. Captain Silver Axe, Captain Akoku. The latest news, Captain Shinzi had a fight with Zephyr, and Captain Shinzi won. I saw this team member. When he said this, his eyebrows were beaming and his enthusiasm was surging, as if the protagonist was himself. What? Both Akoku and John made surprised sounds at the same time. This Shinzi, how could he fight with Marine Vice Admiral Zephyr? And won. Quickly tell me the details you know. Quote. In a short time, on the rocks, this matter spread all over the world, and some of Shinzi's little fans gathered on the deck, discussing it enthusiastically. Have you heard that, Captain Shinzi? This time you got the Marine Vice Admiral Zephyr on the ground. The battle scene was extremely tragic. I heard it lasted for a long time. No, I heard that during the fight, Captain Shinzi was very relaxed. After less than an hour of fighting, Zephyr couldn't get up. Where did it take an hour? I heard that Captain Shinzi used 3 tricks, and Zephyr was beaten until he vomited blood. Fart, what you said is wrong. This is my first-hand information. During the whole process, Captain Shinzi actually used 1 punch. He directly punched Zephyr into the pit and couldn't get out. The sound of everyone's discussion reached the ears of Golden Lion and Whitebeard at the end of the deck, which inevitably made them frown. The power of this rumor is too terrifying. Can you believe this? Golden Lion shook his head while smoking a cigar and said, this is indeed an exaggeration. After all, the strength of Zephyr, as the captain, you and I can't be more clear. Whitebeard did not refute Golden Lion this time, which was rare, and said slowly. Yes, but what do you think of this matter? Hearing Whitebeard's words, Golden Lion said, things must be true, but the process is not so exaggerated. But it's shocking enough. First defeated you, then defeated Vice Admiral Zephyr. Gu la la la. When Shinzi went out this time, he really did another thing that I didn't expect. Whitebeard laughed as he spoke. But when it came to Golden Lion, it felt a bit harsh. Let you talk about Zephyr, why are you bringing me up again? And it's just a Zephyr, what's the big deal? If I touch him, I'll knock him to the ground and beat him. Hearing this, Whitebeard simply glanced at him and didn't say anything, but the meaning was very obvious. You cannot. How could Golden Lion bear this anger? And just as he was about to speak back, the voices of other pirates sounded from the deck. Look, it seems that Captain Shinzi is back. Single quote. It's Captain Shinzi, and Captain John. After hearing the sound, Golden Lion and Whitebeard followed the sight of the pirates and saw that a luxury lifeboat was fast approaching the rocks. Seeing Shinzi driving the lifeboat approaching, the rock stopped. From Shinzi's perspective, looking from a distance, he saw a group of people on the deck waving to him. The last time I came back was to take the luxury cruise ship Celestial Dragons, this time it was a bit stretched. I originally thought that when I came back, I could run into some sea kings or something and treat them like cattle and horses, which would be more exciting, but it was a smooth journey. Chinzi seriously suspected that after the previous sea kings was bullied, he went back to report the news. The ship docked at the side of the rocks. Chinzi and John picked up 2 big bags and jumped from the ship to the deck. When they saw the 2 people appear, everyone on the ship cast their fiery gazes and cheered enthusiastically. Seeing this scene, Chinzi and John couldn't help but frown. What the hell, we didn't bring any heavenly gold with us this time, why are we so excited? Gu la la la. Chinzi, welcome back, everyone on the ship knows about your relationship with Zephyr this time, and everyone is chatting hotly. I didn't expect you to come back at this time. Whitebeard saw Chinzi's doubts, and while greeting Chinzi, he explained the situation to Chinzi. Hearing this, Chinzi suddenly understood. Didn't it mean that good things don't go out, and bad things spread thousands of miles? Why did this matter spread to the Rocks pirates so quickly? For Marine, this does not seem to be a good thing. I didn't expect the news to spread so quickly. Going out to gamble and fight with Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, I feel helpless. Chinzi shrugged and put the bag behind him on the ground. John next to him heard the words, but his face changed. Chinzi spread the news of Zephyr's defeat here, so what about the news that he was defeated by Zephyr, right? But looking at the eyes of everyone, it seemed that none of them knew about it, only the battle between Chinzi and Zephyr. The stone in John's heart couldn't help falling down. It's okay, it's okay. But after thinking about it, as the captain of the Rocks, he didn't even deserve to be mentioned by name, which made him feel even more uncomfortable. This expression fell into the eyes of Akoku and Silver Axe, making them think of something, and couldn't help but smile. John, you don't seem to be looking well. When Chinzi and Zephyr were fighting, I don't know where you are. Akoku looked at John with a playful look, and said, What? I'm dealing with those miscellaneous fish. Although those marine minions are not very good, there are many, so it took some time. Hearing Akoku ask himself directly, John made a random excuse to avoid it. Really, I heard that before Zephyr hit Chinzi, someone was hit by him like a ball. An arc was drawn in the air. It was extremely embarrassing. This person can't be you. When Akoku said this, his tone was full of mockery. Go to hell. John directly cursed back, but his reaction and expression, as well as Chinzi's indifference, showed that this person was him. Seeing this, Akoku and Silver Axe couldn't help laughing. They were happy to see John make a fool of himself, and so did the other captains. Some crew members were also secretly laughing, but they were trying their best not to laugh too loudly. Seeing that he has become a joke of others, John's heart is burning with anger. But he couldn't vent to them, so he could only kick the big bag hard, kicking him far away. The others laughed even louder when they saw that John had broken the defense. But John Yin had a gloomy face, without saying a word, silently went to pick up the bag that was kicked out, then carried the bag, and ran away without a trace. Ha. This John is really bad, he can be beaten like that by Zephyr. If I were here, there would be no need for Chinzi to take action. At this time, Golden Lion laughed when he saw John running away. If John is deflated, who is the happiest here, it must be him. Thinking about how he was defeated by Chinzi before, it had always been a joke among the crew members, and he would get angry if the captains mentioned a few things, but now that John appeared, he seemed to see someone who was about to overwhelm him. After all, he was defeated by Chinzi, and John was defeated by the person Chinzi defeated. If anyone among them had more face, it would have to be me. When I think of this, I feel overjoyed. Wait a minute. Why should I be happy with face like this? Gu la la la. Golden Lion, no one can compare to you for talking big anyway. How do you know if you don't make gestures with John? Why don't you ask him to try? Seeing the Golden Lion bragging about himself again, Whitebeard said mockingly. Humph. Golden Lion didn't answer, and snorted coldly. He didn't want to continue chatting on this topic, so he simply ignored him. Then turned around and left. Hey, where's Kaido? At this time, Chinzi noticed why his newly recruited Vice Captain Kaido was not here. The captain, came, but this kid didn't come to greet him. It was really unruly. I don't know what happened to him recently. I haven't seen him for a long time. Whitebeard said. Since you left, Kaido has rarely appeared in front of people, and he doesn't know what he is doing every day. Oh, then I'm a little curious. Shinzi raised his eyebrows and said slowly. Gu la la la. Just go to him directly. Whitebeard pointed to the room over Kaido and spoke. Then he continued to speak. By the way, I have a few barrels of good wine here recently, which were collected and presented by these pirates for many years. I am worried that no one will drink with me. You are here today, so don't try to run away tonight. Ha ha ha, okay, I'll wait for you tonight. Gu la la la. Patting Shinzi, Whitebeard turned and left directly. After exchanging a few pleasantries, the other captains also said goodbye to Shinzi one after another. Shinzi looked around and saw that Charlotte Linlin and the Longbread were not there, probably stealing them again. As for the rest of the crew, seeing that the captains had left, they came together one by one. Captain Shinzi, I heard that you knocked Zephyr down with one punch. Is this true? Captain Shinzi, may I ask if you still have people in your team? I haven't been in any team before, and I haven't officially joined the team yet. Do you think I can join it? Captain Shinzi. On the rocks, in a cabin, Kaido is admiring himself in front of a mirror. Since eating yuyu fruit, Kaido feels that he has become much prettier. Not only his muscles have become bigger and harder, but he has also grown taller than before. Recalling the taste of that devil fruit, Kaido shuddered. It was the worst thing he had ever eaten. Even if he had never eaten shit, he was absolutely sure that it would not taste any better than it. If it wasn't for devil fruit's great reputation, the fruit Shinzi described was too tempting, and Kaido could spit out all the food he ate on the spot. Fortunately, after all the hardships, the rewards come quickly. Devil fruit can improve a person very quickly. Through this period of non-stop training and comprehension, Kaido's fruit ability has been initially developed, and he can feel a very obvious improvement in physical strength, endurance, and strength. Kaido felt that even the current Shinzi might not necessarily be much stronger than himself in terms of strength. Well, yes, mighty Haki, tall and mighty. Looking at himself in the mirror, Kaido commented on himself. During this time, Kaido would take a look in front of the mirror and observe his own changes after each exercise. However, just as Kaido was about to turn around and look at the muscles in his back. Boom! Suddenly, there was a sound of the door being kicked open. Kaido in front of the mirror was stunned for a moment, turned his head to look, and saw Shinzi staring at him at the door. His face suddenly changed. How did Shinzi come back? Kaido, who has been an otaku in the room, doesn't know what's going on outside. Some people came to him before. In order not to affect his exercise, Kaido scolded them back. The news is blocked. This time when Shinzi came back, Kaido was completely unaware. I came back as the captain, and you are actually looking in the mirror in the room. Shinzi saw Kaido standing in front of a huge floor-to-ceiling mirror, and cursed with a black face. Captain, I don't know about this, no one informed me. Seeing Shinzi with an angry face, Kaido froze immediately, losing all the momentum he had just now. If you want to say who is the person he most wants to defeat in the Rocks pirate group, it must be Shinzi, and if you want to say who is the person he fears the most, besides Rocks, it must also be Shinzi. Seeing Kaido's appearance, as if he really didn't know about it, Shinzi's expression softened a little, and he spoke. I heard that you have been staying in the house during this time. Report to the captain about the work during this time. It's about exercising every day, stimulating fruit ability, and enhancing strength. Hearing this, Kaido seemed to be just here for inspection, and nothing happened. The stone in his heart fell, and he said slowly. Oh, then what were you doing just now? Hearing Kaido's words, Shinzi raised his eyebrows. After eating devil fruit, it is indeed reasonable to want to develop its abilities in time, but I think that when I first came in, Kaido was not exercising, and he was still posing in front of the mirror. Isn't this eating the fruit? Just want to see what kind of changes will happen to the body. Kaido opened his mouth and explained that this is indeed true. After eating the fruit, Kaido felt that he became more beautiful, which is also an external change. Hearing this, Shinzi nodded. Well, it seems that the muscles on your body are indeed more powerful than before, and your explosive power should have been greatly improved compared to before. Shinzi glanced at Kaido's whole body, and objectively commented that after eating the fruit, although the change was not too obvious, it could still be observed under Chin-Zi's eyesight. However, the specifics will only be known after the fight. Withdrawing his eyes, Chin-Zi cleared his throat and said seriously. Of course you exercise, but you, the vice captain, can you do something serious? I asked you to be the vice captain. Did you stay in the room every day? During the time when he was not there, Chin-Zi thought that Kaido, the vice captain, would be the leader of the team and could organize the members of the team well, but when he came back, he found that there was nothing at all. Although Chin-Zi had never done these things when he was here, Chin-Zi didn't think there was anything unreasonable. After all, he had to do it himself, so why would he need the vice captain? Do business. Isn't exercise a business? Kaido asked suspiciously. In this Rock's pirate group, what else can be corrected than exercising to increase strength? Train the players. The strength of the players in our team is too weak. As the vice captain, you have time to train them well. Bring their strength up. Chin-Zi spoke to Kaido earnestly. Hearing this, Kaido frowned and directly refused. Don't do it. I'm busy exercising. How can I have time to take care of them? To help Chin-Zi train the team is to help him train the team members. Wouldn't this be working for Chin-Zi as a coolie for free? Kaido will not do this. As if seeing what Kaido was thinking, Chin-Zi sighed and said again. Hey, think about it. If you train these players, they will become stronger in the future. Can't they handle some things? In this way, you can save yourself time and give yourself more time to devote to what you need to do. And the most important thing is, if you beat me to become the captain in the future, isn't everything you do now is to build the strength of the team for yourself? When the time comes, even I will be your subordinate, why don't you worry about it? Hearing Chin-Zi say this, Chin-Zi's brows slowly relaxed. It seemed that what he said made sense. I ate devil fruit myself, and through hard training, if I want to catch up with Chin-Zi, it will be a matter of time. When the time comes to replace Chin-Zi, the entire team will be his own, but now to train the players, you can also gain a wave of favor. With this in mind, Kaido felt it was entirely in his own interest. You're right, then leave this matter to me in the future. Hearing that Kaido agreed, Chin-Zi smiled. A child can be taught. Teacher Kaido can even teach Luffy. I believe there are a few pirates in this area, it should be no problem at all. At this time, Kaido, who had just finished speaking, seemed to think of something, suddenly frowned, and said. Captain, do we need to expand our team? There are still too few people. The strength of the overall team is weak. Hearing this, Chin-Zi froze for a moment, but his heart burst into laughter. Good, you have already started to learn to answer quickly, and you are about to talk about this. On the surface, Chin-Zi didn't show it. Resting his chin with his palm, with a slightly thoughtful expression, he said slowly. Yes, your suggestion is very good. It seems that you, the vice captain, have not made a mistake. You have already started to think about the interests of the group. Since you brought it up, I'll leave this matter to you in the future. Hearing this, Kaido laughed because his purpose was achieved. Expand the strength of the team. After defeating Chin-Zi later, you can directly take over a powerful team at that time. Presumably it is not a problem to build another pirate group. Thinking of this, Kaido laughed even louder. When Chin-Zi saw Kaido laughing suddenly, he couldn't help laughing too, but the two people's smiles were different. The laughter of the two echoed in the room and could not stop for a long time. Withdrawing his laughter, Chin-Zi narrowed his eyes, looked at Kaido who was still laughing, and said. You ate devil fruit and have been exercising recently, do you want to check your results? Hearing Chin-Zi's words, Kaido's laughter stopped abruptly, and his eyes flickered. Forget it, I've only been exercising for a long time now, and I can't see the effect. I'll talk about it later. Although Kaido now thinks that he may not be much different from Chin-Zi in terms of strength, but if he really fights with Chin-Zi, Kaido has no idea at all, and it is very likely that he will be beaten violently. So I made an excuse and refused. Don't worry, I don't want to fight with you. On the rocks, I just want to fight, so I have to consider the weight of the hull. How about we break the wrist? Chin-Zi raised an eyebrow at Kaido, his arms dangling in the air. Wrist breaking. Kaido didn't expect Chin-Zi to mention such a purely competition of strength. After thinking for a while, he spoke. Okay, I'm just trying to see what level my body's strength is after eating devil fruit. When Kaido said this, he loosened his muscles and bones. During this period of time, he could feel that the strength of his body was improving, and every day was a huge improvement. The gap between Shinzi may be comparable to Shinzi in terms of strength. Ha ha ha. Yes. Then since it's a competition, we have to add something to the prize. If I win, I don't want anything from you. How about you start training the players tomorrow? Seeing that Kaido agreed, Shinzi said with a smile. Okay, what if you lose? Shinzi's conditions were completely acceptable to Kaido. He had already decided to train his players. It was just a matter of time. If Shinzi loses, then the conditions have to be agreed in advance. Hearing this, Shinzi was stunned for a moment, and when he was thinking about a condition, he suddenly remembered what the Golden Lion said. You won, you can mention the conditions as you like. Ha ha ha. Good. As soon as Shinzi's words came out, Kaido immediately became excited, and the conditions were casually mentioned, so did he become the captain. Without saying any more, the two began to prepare for this contest of power. Because there is no suitable table in Kaido's house, the two can only find a huge exercise machine to act as it. Due to the huge difference in height, Shinzi's arms and Kaido's arms are not the same length, so some barbell plates were placed under Shinzi's elbows. Kaido's wrist and Shinzi's wrist pressed each other into fists. Just as Shinzi was about to start shouting, Kaido on the opposite side suddenly exerted strength, the veins on his arms popped up, and the momentum on his body suddenly rose. Shinzi cursed secretly, and began to exert strength slowly with his arms. Next moment, there was a crisp sound, and cracks appeared on the surface of the equipment under Kaido's elbow. The same is true for the barbell plate on Shinzi's side, which creaked under the huge force. For a while, the arms of the two were deadlocked there, and neither of them could hold back the other. During this process, Shinzi probably released a vast ocean of water. Because winning is definitely a must, but Shinzi thinks that Kaido cannot be killed immediately, otherwise it will directly hit his self-confidence. To cultivate a qualified vice-captain who is willing to work for him, Shinzi needs to let him see that the power gap between him and himself is not that big, so that Kaido will take defeating himself as a goal, and only then will he see hope. Only then have the motivation to keep moving forward. Well, thinking of this, Shinzi couldn't help sighing. For Kaido, he really broke his heart. Kaido, I'm going to do my best. You have to pay attention. After saying that, a bigger force came from Shinzi's arm. Feeling this huge force, Kaido's face twisted, and all the power in his body was poured into the arm at this moment, as if the whole arm swelled up in a circle. As for Shinzi, in order to reflect his strenuous effort, his expression gradually became more complicated. Snapped. A sound came from under the arms, and the equipment under the elbows of the two men split apart at the same time. At the same time, the outcome of the two was also revealed. Under Shinzi's tremendous force, Kaido's arm was gradually bent, and finally he couldn't hold on anymore and fell down. I lost. Kaido took a long breath, and said bluntly, he was convincingly defeated in this competition with Shinzi, but he was not disappointed at all. Because during this arm wrestling, Kaido could see from Shinzi's expression that he was struggling, and that was enough. Your strength is increasing very quickly. I believe you should be able to catch up with me in a short time. The facial features on Shinzi's face softened, and he also exhaled. The evaluation of Kaido's first half sentence is objective. The strength Kaido is showing now is indeed powerful. Compared with the stick he compared to himself last time, it is a huge improvement. But compared to myself, there is still a huge room for improvement. As for the other half of the sentence, Shinzi is purely giving Kaido blood. That won't be long, he doesn't know how long it will take. Ha ha ha, since I lost, then I will abide by the bet and start training them tomorrow. Kaido laughed. During the time of taking devil fruit, his own strength has been improved so frighteningly that he has reached the point where he is close to Shinzi. I believe that it is just around the corner to surpass Shinzi in the future. This incident seems to have given Kaido a reassurance. Good. Looking forward to your performance. After bidding farewell to Kaido, Shinzi returned to his room, glanced at the many treasures inside, and found that nothing was missing. It seems that I haven't been stolen during the time I've been away. Well done by Jolly Buff. Lying on the bed, Shinzi couldn't help recalling the battle with Zephyr in his mind. Compared with the last battle with Golden Lion, Shinzi didn't feel any obvious sense of hunger after the battle, which may be because he wasn't injured. In terms of strength, Shinzi felt that it was necessary to re-evaluate. After beating Golden Lion last time, Shinzi thinks that he can handle Sengoku well, and Garp has no problem. But judging from the fight with Zephyr, it seems that these top combat powers are still somewhat underestimated. Although it is possible to win, it is not as easy as Saitama's teacher, and it will take a long time. Thinking of Teacher Kyu, Shinzi thought of his bald head, touched the hair on his head, it was still so lush. This can't help but make Shinzi think of a question. Is it because I didn't lose my hair because I didn't exercise for a short time, or because of other reasons? The rocks, in a captain's room. John was sorting out the money he had snatched from the casino. He roughly counted it, and there was about 20 million Baileys. Fold the money in bundles and prepare to put it away. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door outside. Boom, boom, boom. Hearing this voice, John panicked. His first reaction was that Shinzi was in debt. Quickly packed the money casually and hid it. He quickened his pace, walked to the door, exhaled, and opened the door with both hands to have a look. Akoku, Silver Axe. Seeing that the person who came was not Shinzi, but the two of them, John couldn't help being taken aback. But then he thought of how the two of them had exposed him in front of so many people just now, making him lose all color, so he couldn't get angry and asked with a cold face. "Why are you two looking for me?" Seeing John's expression, the two looked at each other and smiled, and immediately understood why it had such an attitude. Akoku stroked his beard with his hands, and said with a smile. "John, that's just casual talk. Do you still care about our relationship?" Yeah, Silver Axe on the side echoed. HMPH. John snorted coldly. It wasn't you who were laughed at, of course he said so. Come in. Akoku and Silver Axe walk into John's room. In front of a table, 3 people sat around the table. Akoku took out a bucket of spirits that he had brought, put them on the table, and filled 3 bowls for everyone. Seeing Akoku's actions, John couldn't help frowning. "If you have anything to do with me, just tell me." Ha ha ha. John, you are so straightforward. We actually wanted to ask you, how much money did you make when you went out with Shinzi this time? Silver Axe handed the poured bowl of wine to John, and said straight to the point. Originally, he was thinking of getting close to John first, and then mentioning this matter. After all, it is a bit bad to directly ask how much money he made. But John asked directly, so of course he followed this. Hearing this, John's expression changed. These 2 people really didn't open any pots, and they owed a whole lot of debt when they lost, and they came to ask themselves if they made money. Just when he was about to talk about his situation, John still didn't say anything. Thinking of the real situation, if these 2 people knew about it, I could foresee that these 2 people would laugh so hard that they would lean on the wall to get out, and with their urinating nature, the whole ship would know within an hour. Turning his eyeballs, John thought of a way. Since you have lost money, don't think about it for the 2 of you. It's okay. I won about 500 million Baileys. John's face was relaxed, as if he was talking about an ordinary thing. What? So many? Please tell us the details. Although they knew that John must have won the money, they still couldn't help exclaiming after learning the specific number. This is nearly 500 million berries, more than half of their bounty. No way. Don't look at Shinzi's strength, playing cards is completely rubbish. I didn't even use my housekeeping skills, and Shinzi couldn't stand it anymore. The one behind is called a boss. He won't even bat an eye when betting 100 million Baileys. Quote, John picked up the big bowl in front of him and took a sip. Guy talked, slapped the table while talking, vividly, as if what he said was true. And Silver Axe next to him kept pouring wine for him. After a while, John finished speaking. Akoku and Silver Axe looked at each other in blank dismay. Hearing what you said, this Shinzi is really a big fat sheep. However, when Shinzi came back, his expression didn't look like he had lost so much money. He was quite happy. Although what John said was very exciting, he still knows his character better. He is not greedy for money, but also likes to talk big. Thinking of the situation when Shinzi came back before, he couldn't help asking. Does he still have to put the loss of 600 million on his own face? John said angrily. Hearing this, Akoku was taken aback for a moment. Indeed, such a dishonorable and embarrassing matter is really not suitable for too many people to know. However, the bag you came back can hold 500 million. Why don't I believe it? Akoku continued to ask. He had to ask the doubts in his heart clearly. I can't pretend. Shinzi didn't bring that much money, he owes most of it to me. When he said this, John didn't blush and his heart didn't beat, and he directly reversed the matter of owed money. That's it. But John also came back with a bag. Akoku continued to ask. Hearing this, John frowned, and couldn't help cursing in his heart. There are so many questions, why are you so suspicious? This is Shinzi. In order not to come back empty-handed, he specially asked me to put the money in 2 bags. If he takes one, he won't be so embarrassed. Oh, I think this Shinzi is trying to save face. Silver Axe spoke at this moment, and he had completely believed what John said. Well, with Shinzi's face-saving personality, he can indeed do it well. I don't know, John, can you show me the money you won in your bag? Akoku was still asking questions, he still felt a little uneasy. I've told you so much, but you don't believe me. I have nothing to say. Since you don't believe me, you can ask Shinzi directly. John's face changed slightly, and he said directly and coldly. He was sure that these 2 people would not dare to ask Shinzi. How could they ask? Could it be that he lost 500 million Baileys? The fact is just as he thought. Akoku laughed after hearing this. John, how can I not believe what you say? I just want to see if the banknotes in that bag are new. John shook his head after hearing this, knowing that if he didn't read it, he would definitely not believe it. He took the bag of money and opened it to see that it was full of banknotes. Ha 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 ha. It's easier to get money than to be a pirate and rob money everywhere. When Akoku saw the money, he completely believed what John said. Yes, by the way, don't you want to win some money? Seeing that the 2 had believed, John spoke out his ultimate goal. Oh, what do you mean? Akoku was slightly taken aback when he heard the words, and soon understood what John was referring to. Ha ha ha, it's exactly what you think. It needs to be well planned. Chapter 71. The moon was sparse, and the stars outside the window fell on the ground. Shinzi leaned against the window, and the cool evening breeze blew by. After taking a nap in the afternoon, Shinzi felt much more comfortable now. Boom, boom, boom. At this time, there was a knock on the door, and Shinzi knew without thinking that it must be Whitebeard. When I opened the door, it turned out to be this handsome man, holding 2 barrels of wine, standing at the door. These 2 barrels of wine are really big enough. While talking, Shinzi brought Whitebeard in, put the spirits on a table, and let it creak. Gu la la la. This is a good wine that my team members have treasured for many years. I'm going to drink it all today. Whitebeard looked excited, opened the barrel, and took out 2 large bowls to fill up. Wait, can you get something to eat? Who can resist this pure drink? Shinzi looked at the strong wine in front of him. Although it was very fragrant, he couldn't drink it dry, even a plate of peanuts would do. Gu la la la. Understood. After a while, Whitebeard brought over a large bucket of food, put it on the table, and said in his mouth. This long bread, get something to eat, just sigh there. After all, he picked up the bowl in front of him and drank it all in one gulp. He wants to eat alone, let's go and clean him up someday. Shinzi scolded with a smile, in the same way, picked up a bowl of wine on the table, and poured it into his throat. Let's hear what you have gained from going out this time. Pour another bowl of wine into the bowl, and Whitebeard grabs the food with his big hand. Actually, you all know. Get rid of Zephyr, and win some money in the casino. That guy John still owes me a huge debt. I'll ask him for money tomorrow. Gu la la la. Shinzi, before you went, I was worried that you would suffer a loss. Sure enough, my worry was unnecessary. I didn't expect this old gambler to stumble in your hands. You don't know me yet, anyone who wants to take advantage of me hasn't been born yet. Shinzi and Whitebeard touched each other, and said stinkingly. That's true, no matter in terms of strength or other aspects, you can always surprise me. I really don't know how you grew up to this point. Suddenly thought of something, Whitebeard put his hand on his chin and said, "Speaking of which, I do have a question." "Oh." Chin-Z raised his eyebrows and responded, "Chin-Z, where is your hometown? I'm curious as to where the monster like you can be bred." He wanted to ask Whitebeard this question a long time ago. It seems that since he met Chin-Z, he has never heard anything about his hometown, as if he was completely separated from his hometown. This made him very puzzled by this person who often misses his hometown. "My hometown. In a place far, far away." Asked by Whitebeard, Chin-Z suddenly remembered his previous life and his relatives in the previous life. He wondered what they were doing at this moment, and whether his sudden disappearance would cause them any trouble. Very far away. In this world, distance is not a problem. How far can it be? Whitebeard thought of his hometown, and it seemed that after he came out, he didn't go back to visit it for a long time. It's as far away as a dream. Looking at the moon outside the window, Chin-Z said slowly, thinking in his heart that the moons in different regions are all the same. I wonder if there is any difference between the moon in this pirate world and the moon in his hometown. Ha ha ha, I will tell you when the time is right, but it's not the time yet. Looking at the bewildered Whitebeard, Chin-Z said with a smile, "Tell me about me, where's your hometown?" According to Chin-Z's understanding, Whitebeard's hometown is a poor small village. After the death of Summit War Whitebeard, the place was protected by Marco, the captain of the Whitebeard pirates, but it was still poor. This shows a problem. The money that Whitebeard has given to his hometown over the years has not solved the fundamental problem of poverty there. My hometown is a small place. A quiet and peaceful village. While drinking, Whitebeard told his own story. He was the bully of the village since he was a child, mischievous everywhere, until his parents left him early, and then became a pirate and got shock fruit. So your money is used to give back to your hometown. Yes, it doesn't make sense for me to ask for so much money, it's better to give it to those in need. But have you ever thought about a problem? This may make people develop a lazy character, which is not conducive to the real development of their hometown. After all, it is better to teach people to fish than to teach them how to fish. When Chin-Z said this, he opened his mouth slowly. I have thought about it, but there is only so much I can do. I just want to make their life better. The rest can only be relied on by themselves. Whitebeard picked up a bowl of wine and drank it slowly, without the boldness at the beginning, but with more sadness. Hearing what Whitebeard said, Chin-Z didn't say anything else. Maybe sometimes, being poor is a good thing, but in this pirate world, being rich may be more likely to cause disasters. However, if there is a chance, Chin-Z still wants to go to Whitebeard's hometown to see how the people are there. If possible, Chin-Z is willing to help them. Ha ha ha, just do what you can. Chin-Z said with a smile. By the way, why don't you find a girlfriend? You've lost your tall and handsome image for nothing. Noticing the sadness in the atmosphere, Chin-Z suddenly changed the subject. In One Piece, Whitebeard likes to have a son very much, but it seems that he has been single all the time. With Whitebeard's conditions, how can he be a single dog? It's unreasonable. I haven't thought about it yet. Whitebeard spoke up. You don't have anything to hide. Chin-Z looked at Whitebeard curiously and said, Get lost. Aren't you alone too? How dare you say me? Whitebeard pissed off Kaido. Me, I want to look for it, but there is no suitable one. What can I do? So I can only look for those girls who have lost their feet first, and give them relief. Chin-Z spread his hands and said helplessly, How about I take you to find a woman someday? No, no money. The layout is small. You, a man with a vibrating self, do you still need money from you? Besides, if you are short of money, just get it from here. When talking, Chin-Z pointed his finger to the back, those gold in the sky, indicating that he can take whatever he wants. Forget it. When I take your money, I give it back to my family in my hometown, and I treat you as a brother, and you are my family. If I take your money, it is equivalent to returning it to you. In this case, your money, it doesn't matter if I take it or not. So my money is actually your money. Hearing Whitebeard's words, Chin-Z was stunned for a while, then slapped his thigh after reacting for a long time. You are a logic genius. The next day, rocks, inside Chin-Z's room. Chin-Z, who had been drinking all night last night, was lying on the table with sleepy eyes, and was suddenly awakened by a noise outside. Rubbing his eyes, Chin-Z glanced out the window, and the sun was high. It was almost noon. On the opposite side of Chinzi, Whitebeard didn't come home all night and was sleeping on the table. Shaking his head, Chinzi got up and went to hug Whitebeard, but due to the big difference in body size, this method was not suitable. Chinzi directly lifted Whitebeard high and put him on the bed. He didn't notice the whole process, he was still in a deep sleep. Last night, I had a drink with Chinzi, so I had a good drink. Due to his size, Chinzi's bed couldn't fit Whitebeard at all, so most of his feet were exposed, but it was better than sleeping on the table. When he walked to the door and opened it, the noise suddenly became louder. Looking at the scene in front of him, Chinzi raised his eyebrows. On the deck, several crew members were training with some fitness equipment, some were holding barbells, some were holding dumbbells, and some were doing push-ups with a huge iron weight on their backs. With the ups and downs of their movements, humming roars came out of their mouths. In front of them is the organizer of this exercise, the vice captain of Chinzi's team, Kaido. And he was not idle. While observing the team members' work, he was still holding two iron bodies that weighed several tons by visual inspection. There is also a group of pirates from other teams around, talking about something in a low voice. On the Rocks Pirate, it is rare for such a group of people to get together to exercise together in an organized way, because here, except for the Whitebeard team who cares more about the players, the other captains are almost free to the players' manner. Looking at the scene in front of him, Chinzi smiled. Unexpectedly, this Kaido is quite trustworthy. He lost yesterday, but today he has been fixed up. Although the training is a bit different from what he imagined, at least he saw them in action. Up. At this moment, when the team members saw Chinzi open the door and come out, they immediately stopped what they were doing. "Hello, Captain Chinzi." Hearing the greetings from the team members, Chinzi nodded slightly and said, "Very good, you go on, don't worry about me." It was said that the crew members continued the unfinished exercise, but the movements were a little harder than before. Turning around, Chinzi walked up to Kaido and said, "Kaido, your attitude and enthusiasm are okay, I appreciate it." Kaido put down the super iron body in his hand after listening to it, and smiled. "Ha ha ha, how about it, how about my exercise method? All I can say is, it suits your taste." Chinzi said Kaido indifferently, then turned his head and glanced at the crew members who were still exercising. Although it seems that everyone is working hard, in fact, the strength of these people varies greatly. Chinzi couldn't help thinking that after the battle in the Valley of the Gods, the Rocks pirate group would fall apart, and the agreement between himself and Rocks would come to an end. This means that Chinzi can form his own pirate group. Considering this matter, Chinzi had to think about a problem. Because the team members recruited now are likely to be his own crew in the future, and Chinzi certainly will not allow his crew to be a bunch of rotten fish and rotten shrimp. In the future, they will need to be tested to survive the fittest and leave those whose strength and potential can meet the standard. Then in Pirate World, recruit those suitable crew members. Withdrawing his thoughts, Chinzi spoke. "Go ahead, practice hard." Then he stepped away, took 2 steps, Chinzi suddenly thought of something, turned back and shouted at Kaido. "Next time, pick somewhere else." The destination Chinzi went to was directly at John's room. There is no way, this old man is not sensible at all, he has to come to the door by himself. Walking slowly on the deck, Chinzi rested his hands behind his head and stared ahead. Suddenly, a person was walking towards Chinzi. It was a man in a red robe with a western sword pinned to his waist. "John, Chinzi, I'm going to find you right now. I didn't expect to run into you here." At the same time Chinzi saw John, John also noticed Chinzi. "Yo, look for me, I didn't expect that I wouldn't even come to the door." Chinzi saw that John took the initiative to find him, so he knew that he was about to pay off the debt. It seemed that he had wrongly blamed him before, and this old man was quite trustworthy. Hearing this, John's face changed slightly, he put his hand on Chinzi's shoulder, and said, "Chinzi, take a step to speak." Hearing John's words, Chinzi frowned, but still followed. Under John's guidance, Chinzi was taken to a corner of the rocks. There was no one here, except for the sound of the boat breaking through the water, it was very peaceful. "What do you mean, pay back the money, and why are you so mysterious?" Regarding John's behavior, Chinzi was a little speechless, and didn't understand what kind of plane he was messing with. Let's put aside the matter of paying back the money for now. John said awkwardly. Do you want to renege on your debt? Hearing this, Chinzi's forehead went dark. John wanted to renege on his feelings, and his fists were already in a state of preparation. No, can I, John, take less of that money from you? That's right, didn't we come back from gambling last time? The two captains Akoku and Silver Axe came to ask me. John blinked, lowering his voice. And then, Chinzi let go of his clenched fist and spoke. I told them that I 500 million won from you, and when they heard that the future generations were dumbfounded, their eyes were full of envy and jealousy. I decided on the spot to bet with you again. Also, use me as the middleman to match your bet. When John said the latter, he showed a sinister smile. Hearing this, the corners of Chinzi's mouth rose slightly. He already knew what John wanted to do. He used his winnings as an introduction, and then described himself as a character who was very bad at gambling, and he could win money from himself as long as he knew a little bit of gambling. Then set up a gamble and let Akoku and Silver Axe take the initiative to play with themselves. Isn't this a cheating brother? Chinzi cursed in his heart. The three of them seemed to have a good relationship. They turned out to be a group of superficial brothers. As expected in the Rocks Pirates, brothers were used for backstabbing. So what? Chinzi narrowed his eyes slightly and spoke. Silver Axe and Akoku, they're coming to get you to play. Although their gambling skills are not bad, they are worse than mine, so you have no problem dealing with them. When the time comes you will be. When John said this, he seemed to have seen the expressions of the two people after losing money, and he couldn't help laughing. Oh, then they should really be grateful to have you as a good brother. Ha ha ha, stop mocking me. I'm creating a way to make money for you. John has no psychological burden at all about backstabbing his brother. As long as he can benefit himself, he can do anything. It is good. Regarding John's matter, Chinzi readily accepted it, and he could win the money of the two captains without paying any price, which is equivalent to being given money by someone. As for the matters after winning the money, Chinzi doesn't have to care about it at all. That's John's business. What's your purpose in doing this? Chinzi didn't think that John would be so kind as to offer a fat sheep to slaughter for him. Ha ha ha, it's me as the middleman, can I draw some money then? John rubbed his hands, grinned, and said slowly. This time he pitted Akoku and Silver Axe. Apart from wanting to see them embarrassing, John also wanted to make a fortune from them. You know, this is a rare opportunity. Look at your performance, Chinzi said slowly. After finishing speaking, he patted John on the shoulder. Ha ha ha, good, I'll bring Akoku and John later. After saying this, John turned and left. How is it? Does Chinzi have an idea? In a room, Akoku, John, and Silver Axe are sitting and discussing. It was Silver Axe wearing silver armor who asked the question. After learning that John had met Chinzi, he couldn't help but want to know the details and Chinzi's attitude. Don't worry, with me as the middleman, will there be any problems? John glanced at Silver Axe and said with a smile, confidence in his eyes. Ha ha ha, so what does Chinzi think? Akoku, who was on the side, couldn't help but ask at this time. The three of them had planned before that John would first ask Chinzi about the gambling, and then he would talk to Chinzi with Silver Axe. By doing this, you can get a preliminary understanding of Chinzi's attitude. If he still wants to continue playing, then of course the two of them will not miss such an opportunity. If they don't want to play, then John can persuade him. Anyway, no matter what, he is sure to earn the money. You don't know, when I bet against Chinzi last time, he still wanted to continue. If I didn't stop him, he would have kept betting. This time I just mentioned it to him, and he immediately hooked it up. Just go find him later, John said slowly, and threw a look at the two of you that you understand. Sure enough, this gambling addiction. This Chinzi is rich and powerful, plus he is young, so it is normal for him to want to pay back his money. Silver Axe heard John say that it was ready, and echoed. By the way, John, this time, do you want to join? Akoku thought for a while and asked. I definitely won't join. How can Chinzi play with me now? He is not a fool. John said angrily. Hearing John's words, Akoku nodded. It was his inconsideration. I lost 500 million on John. How could I still play with him? Unless I have too much money and have no place to put it, I will fall twice in the hands of the same person. By the way, I told him that both of you are very bad at gambling, so don't reveal yourselves when the time comes. John added another sentence. Learn. We'll go find him now and see how he reacts. Walk. After finishing speaking, Silver Axe and Akoku got up and left, heading straight to where Chinzi was. But John didn't follow up this time. John was completely relieved about Chinzi. After all, Chinzi's heart is so dirty, it should be no problem to act in a play. On the deck, Chinzi was leaning against the edge of the boat, blowing the sea breeze, watching the waves rolled up by the sea, while waiting for Akoku and John. Sure enough, a familiar voice sounded from behind. Chinzi, how leisurely you are. Akoku saw Chinzi leaning against the side of the boat at this time, looking at the scenery, and said accostingly. Hearing this, Chinzi turned his head, looked at the two and said. Akoku, Silver Axe, why, the two captains also have time to come here to see the scenery. Ha ha ha, it's been a long time since I've felt the comfort of the sea. I didn't expect to meet you here by such a coincidence. Akoku laughed and followed Chinzi's words. While speaking, he leaned towards Chinzi, one left and one right, sandwiching Chinzi in the middle. Seeing this scene, Chinzi frowned. Was he afraid that he would run away? Hey, the last time you went out with John, it was interesting to hear from you. I really regret that I didn't go with you at that time. Akoku opened the topic and chatted with Chinzi. In order to bring the topic back on track, he mentioned the last time Chinzi went out. Actually, it's not interesting. If I had known the result would be like that, I wouldn't have gone. Chinzi shook his head and said slowly. Hearing this, Akoku frowned slightly and asked. Oh, how do I say this? Oh, to tell you the truth, I lost some money this time when I went out with John. There are 30 million Baileys. Chinzi shook his head while sighing, his voice was full of helplessness and regret. Hearing this, Akoku and Silver Axe almost laughed. 30 million. It's obviously 500 million Baileys, but of course they won't expose Chinzi's words. This must be Chinzi's way of saving face and deliberately saying the number is small. I didn't expect that besides repelling Zephyr, you have this thing. But gambling is all about luck. If you lose this time, maybe your luck will improve next time. Akoku stroked his beard and said with a smile. Silver Axe on the side also echoed at this time. Yeah, this kind of thing depends entirely on luck. If you lose so much at one time, the next time will definitely be lucky. Who knows? You won't know until you've played it. It's a pity that I'm on the boat now, so I can't go out to play. Chinzi didn't even look at the two of them, his eyes looked at the sea, and said a little sadly. Oh, it seems that you are worried about losing money this time. Akoku said slowly. That's not the case. Chinzi, is the richest pirate on this ship, a mere 30 million Baileys, I don't care about it. It's just too boring. Chinzi turned his head to look at Akoku, and said slowly. Why don't we come and have fun? After so many days on the boat, it's really boring, and even our hands are itchy. It just so happens that you lost money this time, maybe you can win back the money from us. Akoku revealed his purpose. He knew that Chinzi was about to take the bait, and he was only a few gamblers away. You two, I said you two don't want to win my money. Chinzi frowned and spoke. How is it possible? If you haven't played, who knows? This thing is not based on luck. Silver Axe said. That's right, it really depends on luck. Then whoever wins the money at that time, just don't turn your face. Chinzi hesitated for a while, then nodded and said pretending to be difficult. Ha ha ha, of course. Seeing that Chinzi agreed, Akoku readily agreed, showing a happy smile. Seeing that their goal has been achieved, there is no need for the two of them to stay. After all, they don't really want to see the scenery. Afterwards, I chatted with Chinzi for a few words, and then bid farewell to Chinzi and left. Seeing the figures of the two leaving, Chinzi couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth, and turned his head to still look at the sea. The fish has been hooked. In this world, it really is still a routine to win people's hearts. The time came one day later. On this day, on the deck of the Rocks, several pirates were discussing something together. If someone is close at this time, you can hear what they are talking about. Have you heard? Captain Chinzi is going to make a bet with Akoku, Captain Silver Axe. Really? Who did you hear from? Everyone on board is spreading the word. Not only that, but I also know that Captain Chin-Z lost 30 million Baileys last time he came back. Captain Chin-Z lost 30 million Baileys. I didn't expect him to be so powerful and so mediocre in this respect. This is also normal. You must know that Captain John is a veteran in this field. Then I must go and see it. I haven't seen this game between the captains much. This time it will be an eye-opener. I just don't know who will win in the end. That goes without saying, it must be Captain Akoku. I just don't know how much Captain Chin-Z will lose this time. Quote, not only a few of them, Chin-Z and Akoku, Silver Axe and their gambling news, who leaked the secret, quickly spread like wildfire on the rocks. And this also made Chin-Z very distressed, not because the rumor that he lost money was widely spread, but because everyone paid attention to this gambling game, which made him feel that he had lost hundreds of millions. Originally, Chin-Z wanted to make a fortune silently, but after winning Akoku and Silver Axe this time, he can continue to rely on this skill in the future to reap a wave of other people's wallets. But in this way, this idea is ruined. This is indeed the case, and the crew members on the ship were all very surprised when they found out. You know, in the Rocks Pirates, things like gambling are too common. Apart from squandering the treasures on land, a large part of the treasures that the pirates plunder are on board. Hands go back and forth. To put it bluntly, gambling is a way of pastime at sea, a way to pass the boring time, so in the pirate group, almost half of the people have come into contact with it. But this time, Chin-Z, who lost money, had to continue betting against Silver Axe and Akoku, which made some people who love gambling and those who want to see Chin-Z's jokes feel curious. Especially Golden Lion. After learning that Chin-Z had lost 30 million Baileys, he smoked a few more cigars. He knew that with Chin-Z's financial resources, such a small amount of money was nothing to him at all, but he felt inexplicably relieved to see Chin-Z deflated. When he knew that Chin-Z was going to gamble with Akoku and the others, he laughed even more happily, because this time he could see Chin-Z deflated with his own eyes. Thinking of this, Golden Lion couldn't hold back his excitement, and wanted to mock Chin-Z first. At this time, Chin-Z had just finished exercising on the boat, and was thinking about relaxing, when he saw the Golden Lion walking towards him. Kihahaha, Chin-Z, I heard that you lost more than 30 million Baileys last time. Seeing Chin-Z for the first time, Golden Lion couldn't wait to mention this matter, with a playful look on his face. Hey, I didn't expect you to be very well informed. You actually found out so soon. Why, do you want to come over and give me money to comfort me? Chin-Z didn't justify his loss, he made a mistake. Anyway, after he wins a game later, this matter will naturally be resolved without attack. You, the richest owner in the whole ship, still need me to send you money. Golden Lion sniffled and said slowly. But even if you have money, don't use it like this. Go play with Akoku and Silver Axe. Do you think you can beat the two of them? I think you should just give me the money. I promise to lose slower than you. Golden Lion took a deep puff of his cigarette, and laughed with a mocking look on his face. Golden Lion, do you know why you lost to me last time? Chin-Z completely ignored Golden Lion's taunt and spoke. Why? Golden Lion frowned and asked. Because you're too busy. With all this time, what can you do? Isn't it good to improve your strength? Chin-Z rolled his eyes and said angrily. Hearing this, Golden Lion's complexion changed, and he was about to get angry, but thought that he couldn't beat Chin-Z, so he said a harsh word. HMPH, I'll see how badly you lost. After speaking, he flicked his sleeves, turned around and left. For this, Chin-Z is ashamed. This Golden Lion is really here to scold. The time Chin-Z and Akoku set was this afternoon. The sun outside was setting in the west at this time, and the time was almost up. Originally, Chin-Z wanted to play casually with them in his own room, but everyone knew about it, and under their strong request, he set the game on a deck in the middle of the rocks. There is no other reason for choosing this place. It is purely because it is more convenient to watch and has a wide view. On the Rocks pirate ship, there are all kinds of gambling equipment, such as dice, poker, roulette, darts. As long as there are things in the casino outside, they are basically equipped here. If you put these things together, you can open a casino directly, and it can be put into operation immediately. Among the many gambling tools, Chin-Z and the others chose playing cards this time. And it is a game that Chinzi is very familiar with, fighting the landlords. Although the names in this world are different, the gameplay is exactly the same. Moved a gaming table to the middle of the deck. Chinzi, Akoku, and Silver Axe gathered around the table, smiling at each other. Everyone has Shao Juju in their hearts. Chinzi, I didn't expect to attract so many people's attention just by playing cards. I'm really speechless. Akoku spoke first, pulling out a big bag full of treasures and Baileys. The reason why the people on board knew this was that Akoku sent the news. The purpose was to arouse the onlookers on board, because he couldn't beat Chinzi, and he was afraid that Chinzi would renege on the money if he lost the money. So after doing this, with so many pairs of eyes staring at him, Chinzi won't be cheating. Who knows? Anyway, the person who tells the story will definitely have a son with a bad asshole. When Chinzi spoke, he glanced at the two of them. Although Chinzi didn't know who released the news, it must be one of them, or both. Because John didn't know the 30 million Baileys, he said casually. Hearing Chinzi's venomous mouth, Akoku was momentarily at a loss for words, as if he had eaten a fly, and he didn't answer for a long time. Cough cough, let's start. After coughing twice, Akoku picked up a deck of cards. At the same time, when other people on the deck saw Chinzi and the others, they all rushed over here. On the Rocks pirate ship, some pirates saw Chinzi, Akoku, and Silver Axe sitting together on the deck, and they understood that the game was about to begin. Under their voices, the pirates who were not on the deck before also came to join in the fun. After a while, there were several circles of people standing around Chinzi. In the outer circle, some crew members even brought some stepping tools, and in the inner circle stood the captains. Whitebeard looked at Akoku and Silver Axe in the gambling game, and they had a panoramic view of their eagerness to try, and it seemed that they had already won. He smiled at this, because he knew that Chinzi didn't lose money at all, and he also made John owe a lot of debt. Thinking of this, he couldn't help laughing louder, and the laughter spread to the side of Golden Lion in his ears. He also became amused. Kihahaha, Edward, your good brother Chinzi hasn't even started yet. You don't think he can win, do you? Golden Lion said with a smile while smoking a cigar. It's up to you. Can I think of some happy things? Whitebeard glanced at Golden Lion, and said, he didn't take Golden Lion's taunt at all, because when the real game is over, he will know who the clown is. Quote, quote. With the bickering between the two, the situation on the field began to become more delicate. Chinzi, show all the money you brought here. Let everyone know what to expect. Akoku put the playing cards in the middle, and then opened the treasure in the bag. Immediately, the bright light on the table attracted the fiery eyes of the pirates. Hearing this, Chinzi smiled. The money on the surface is actually almost all the heavenly gold that Chinzi snatched that day. If you win them all later, it will be regarded as returning to the original owner. He picked up a bag in his hand and threw it on the table. Under the control of ingenious strength, the bag slowly untied by itself. In Chinzi's bag, there were all banknotes and treasures. This was the money from winning John last time, and Chinzi hadn't tidied it up properly. This time, it happened to be taken out and used directly. The Silver Axe next door, too, put money on the table. All of a sudden, 3 big bags of treasure were placed on the gaming table, and they were shaken out, and the pirates felt itchy to hear the rattling sound. The captains just play differently. This money is enough for me to grab for a lifetime. Yeah, I haven't seen such a big one since I became a pirate. It's good to be the captain. There is no shortage of treasures or anything. I don't know if I can be the captain in the future. You can do it. The captain's strength can beat you 10 times. Stop beeping, let's see how the captains play. Quote, quote. When all the pirates saw the treasures put out by the captains, their eyes lit up. If it was in some other casino, these pirates would have already slashed there with their big knives. Because just the treasure on the table is more than most pirates can use in their lifetime. For the pirates who have been sailing at sea for many years, burning, killing and looting everywhere, the temptation is undoubtedly huge, but fortunately, everyone has a brain and has no intention of going up to grab it. Let's stop talking nonsense, come on. Akoku couldn't wait to see the treasure that Chinzi brought out. Wait a minute, this gamble has to be dealt out personally. Is it possible that you have to draw it yourself? When Chinzi spoke, he glanced around among the onlookers, and Kaido's tall body was very conspicuous. "Kaido, come here." At this moment, Kaido was taken aback when his name was called. Looking at Shinzi, his facial muscles were twitching. Obviously, Shinzi wanted him to be a card dealer's servant, which made Kaido, who thought he was superior to others, feel insulted. He didn't want to talk to Shinzi at first, but since Shinzi was his team leader, after struggling for a while, he leaned over to Shinzi, picked up the playing cards on the table, with a look of lovelessness on his face, initiated sequentially. As the playing cards were stacked up in front of the captains, the pirates watching slowly fell silent. Golden Lion had a playful look on his face, Whitebeard folded his fists in front of his chest, and John hadn't come over from the residence yet. Soon, the cards were dealt out, and the last 3 cards were left on the table, and the landlord began to be called. The first one was called Silver Axe. He tapped the table and chose not to bid. And Shinzi, like him, did not call the first round of cards, because under his knowledge perception, the whole cards were 2, 6, 9, which did not match the cards in his hand very well. With the 2 giving up, Akoku called the landowner. The ante was 1 million Baileys, and if there was a bomb, the ante would be doubled. In the case of Akoku having a good hand, he won the first round. Within a few minutes, he 2 million won Baileys. This made the Golden Lion on the side start to envy, the money came so easily. Soon, the second round began, and Shinzi still didn't call in this round. Although his cards and whole cards were not bad, Shinzi liked to let his opponent win a little money first, and then exert his strength. This round was still owned by Akoku, who won 4 million Baileys. In the process of playing cards, Shinzi observed a detail: Akoku and Silver Axe seldom have a comfortable card for themselves, and as long as they play this kind of card, it is almost the end. This means they should be able to see the cards in their hand and have observation hockey. However, this is within Shinzi's expectations, because as the captain of the Rocks Pirates, they don't have this ability at all, so they can't sit in this position for so long, and they can get out early. As time passed, Shinzi lost 15 million Baileys, while Silver Axe lost more than 7 million. For a moment, Silver Axe's face was very ugly, because he and Akoku were also in a competitive relationship. Both of them had their own little ideas, and wanted to win the most money from Shinzi, so they did not reach an effective cooperative relationship. Losing so much money this time made him feel very uncomfortable. This point was also seen by Shinzi, because the 2 men played cards that were not giving in to each other. Therefore, in each round of fighting the landlords, the 3 players played with open cards, and everyone knew exactly what cards they had. During this process, Akoku kept winning. He can now be sure that Shinzi is a good player who loves to play. He can't even understand the most basic cards, and he can't play any good cards. You've lost tens of millions of Baileys in such a short period of time. Captain Shinzi really doesn't know how to play. It's better to let me play. I must play better than Captain Shinzi, this card skill is too stinky. Yes, sure enough, rich and self-willed. This is really a random loss. I really wish that the person sitting opposite Shinzi is me, so I can get rich overnight. Then I'll be a pirate. Quote. Some pirates saw that Shinzi had been losing money. The calm atmosphere before was broken by lively discussions, and they all complained about Shinzi's poor card skills and that he was giving money to the opponent. I also hope that I am the one sitting at the gambling table, because in terms of Shinzi's performance, everyone feels that they can win some money from him. But for Shinzi, the development period has just begun. Kihahaha. Edward, you can't laugh now. Seeing that Shinzi lost more than 10 million in a short time, Golden Lion couldn't restrain his inner excitement, and said with a smile between his cigars. Looking at Whitebeard, his eyes are full of teasing. And Whitebeard heard this, glanced at him, and didn't bother to talk to him. Although he didn't know why Shinzi lost so much at the beginning, he looked at Shinzi with a calm expression at this moment. Reminiscent of what Shinzi said before, Whitebeard is not worried at all, because he doesn't think anyone can take advantage of Shinzi's hands, and he will definitely have follow-up actions. And the fact is just as he expected. Shinzi on the gaming table did not back down any further, because the situation was already clear. Akoku and John were not dealing with each other, and his own cards seemed transparent in the eyes of the 2 opponents. That being the case, just make it difficult for the opponent to see his cards clearly. Next moment, Chin-Z attached a layer of faint armament haki to the back of the playing card, and at the same time held the back of the card with his hand. Under the high-level armament haki, the low-level observation haki of Akoku and Silver Axe suddenly lost their effect. At the same time, Chin-Z passed this ability to Akoku and Silver Axe through the table. For a while, they not only couldn't see Chin-Z's cards clearly, but also couldn't see the opponent's cards clearly, even the 3-hole cards. Seeing this scene, the two couldn't help frowning. As soon as their faces changed, they immediately guessed that it was Chin-Z playing tricks. Although they didn't understand why they couldn't even see the opponent's cards clearly, they didn't think that such a thing happened, it was their observation haki that had a problem. And they quickly guessed that Chin-Z attached the armament haki on the back of the card, so the observation haki cannot see through the paper. Ever since, the two followed suit, and also attached armament haki to the back of the card, and a layer of faint black appeared on the back. But this has almost no effect on Chin-Z's observation haki level, which can still see their cards clearly. This gamble, said to be a game of cards, is actually a competition of strength, but the two of them don't know Chin-Z's observation haki. After all, Chin-Z has never shown it on the rocks. Even if they guessed that there might be one, the two of them didn't think they could be any higher than them. The current situation, in the eyes of Akoku and Silver Axe, is blind typing, but they are not worried at all, because according to the skills Chin-Z showed before, even this can still be crushed. But the fact is that Chin-Z can see their cards clearly, but they can't see Chin-Z's cards clearly, and they think Chin-Z can't see their own cards clearly. Under such circumstances, Chin-Z's advantage is too obvious. And in order to gain their trust, Chin-Z lost a few more rounds afterwards, which greatly increased their confidence. But after that, Chin-Z gradually got better. Finally, in the 12th hand, Chin-Z won money for the first time. The whole process was bumpy and not smooth. Because Chin-Z played a hand that would allow Akoku and Silver Axe to underplay, but on the key hand, it was strictly defensive. Chin-Z won money. This is the first time. After losing so many hands, I finally won money. Looking at Chin-Z's appearance, there is no fluctuation at all. As expected, the little money he lost is nothing to him at all. What's the use of winning? It's just good luck, I don't know what will happen next. Quote. After seeing Chin-Z win once, the watching pirates started to discuss. Golden Lion looked at it, and just smiled contemptuously. It was just a win, which didn't explain anything at all. But Whitebeard's expression was completely different from his. He knew that the time had come, and Chin-Z was about to blow the horn of counterattack. Sure enough, in the remaining nearly 10 rounds, Chin-Z lost one hand. Although every hand he won was thrilling, this did not affect the fact that the money in Akoku and John's hands was constantly decreasing. And in the process, both Akoku and Silver Axe were frustrated because they always felt like they were one step away from winning. If you played like that just now, you will definitely win. If you let me grow up just now, I will run down. In such a mood, they looked forward to the next game infinitely, thinking that they would definitely not lose in the next game. So, under such psychological effects, they got deeper and deeper, and soon, the money they won before was won back by Chin-Z. And, the process is still going on. Although he started to lose money, but now Akoku and Silver Axe are at the gambling table, there are 9 bulls who can't get back. Under people's close attention, the treasures in front of them are gradually decreasing, while the treasures in front of Chin-Z are piled high. Captain Chin-Z actually won so much. I said Captain Chin-Z couldn't play, why did he become so aggressive all of a sudden? Now I have some doubts about the authenticity of the news that Captain Chin-Z lost 30 million. That's not necessarily fake, I think it's still luck. Because although I won several games, each one won very close. If there is a slight mistake, then this game will be gone. After seeing Chin-Z win the money, the pirates started speaking again. This Akoku and Silver Axe are so good, I can't even understand a game of cards. To actually let Chin-Z win money, it's a shame. After seeing Chin-Z win several hands on the field, Golden Lion said to himself that he was very dissatisfied with the performance of Akoku and Silver Axe. Gu la la la. Golden Lion, weren't you very proud before? If you think they are good, you can do it. After seeing Chin-Z win the money, Whitebeard knew that his idea was completely right. He kept hiding his clumsiness, and then showed it at the critical moment. This made him have to admire Qin Zi's patience and IQ. A person with both strength and brains online, whoever was Qin Zi's opponent would feel terrible just thinking about it. Hearing what Whitebeard said, Golden Lion was taken aback for a moment and thought about it. It seems to be possible. Since he can't catch up with Qin Zi temporarily in terms of strength, won't it be a kind of transcendence if he wins in this regard? HMPH. You think I dare not? If it weren't for this game, only 3 people can play. Qin Zi has already lost and went back to get the money. Golden Lion puffed on his cigar. However, as soon as his words fell, the gambling game was over. Because at this time, all the money brought by Silver Axe was lost. Since he came on the field, he has never won. He lost as a landlord, and he still lost when he was a farmer. Everyone sitting there is stupid now. Perfect interpretation of that sentence, both food and fun. Seeing that Silver Axe lost all his money, Akoku was very angry, not because of the fact that Silver Axe lost money, but because the game could not be maintained if there were fewer people. But I haven't won back my money yet. Anyone want to take over? Thinking of the people outside the field, Akoku looked around and asked, with urgency and expectation in his voice. I come. Soon, a voice came out from the crowd, and everyone followed the voice and looked sideways. It is the Golden Lion. Did I hear you right? Captain Golden Lion is coming. I thought it was just a duel between Qin Zi and Akoku, the captains of Silver Axe, but I didn't expect it to be a battle of wheels. This looks great. Captain Golden Lion replaces Captain Silver Axe. But Captain Golden Lion doesn't have any money right now. It does appear to be so. The onlookers heard that Golden Lion was going to play, and looked at him with all eyes. At this time, Golden Lion was smoking a cigar, with a proud expression on his face, with his hands folded on his chest, but he had nothing on him. He heard the pirate's words clearly. Will I have no money? You ignorant things, wait for me to get it quickly. Under the ability of lion fruit, it didn't take long for Golden Lion to bring a large bag of treasure, which was only a lot more than Akoku's. Under the gaze of everyone, Silver Axe reluctantly gave up his seat, while Golden Lion sat on it unceremoniously, and threw the bag in his hand on the table. Clatter clatter. Treasures were scattered on the table, making a loud noise. Looking at Golden Lion again, at this moment he has a sloppy look, exactly the same as the Silver Axe at the beginning. Qin Zi, Akoku, I play, you don't mind. Golden Lion raised his eyebrows, looked at the two and said. He didn't think that Qin Zi's victory would be due to some particularly superb skills, at most it was luck and timing. But he didn't believe that Qin Zi's luck could last forever. Of course I don't mind. Qin Zi said with a smile. Someone came here to give money on purpose, of course he wouldn't refuse, since he decided to win this time, he had to maximize the benefits. Of course, Akoku will not refuse. He is eager to have a replacement immediately, and it is too late to be happy about the appearance of Golden Lion. Akoku nodded slightly, expressing his meaning. Kihahaha, bring it. Golden Lion snuffed out his cigar and lit another. Kaido, deal the cards. Qin Zi didn't say anything more, looking at Kaido who was standing like a log and said. Hearing this, Kaido glanced at Qin Zi, sighed, and shuffled the cards with his hands. Soon in front of the 3 captains, the 3 sets of cards were dealt out. For the Golden Lion, Qin Zi used the same routine as Silver Axe before, but this time Qin Zi didn't try again, because he knew who the Golden Lion was. Through the last duel, there is a certain gap between Golden Lion and his current self, whether it is on armament hockey or observation hockey. And the relationship between him and Akoku is also a competition. But make a quick decision and complete the harvest of Golden Lion in the fastest time, because his strength is relatively strong, and he will quickly discover his little tricks. Ever since, soon after more than 10 rounds, the treasure in front of Golden Lion was reduced by 20 million Baileys. And Akoku isn't much better either. Even if Golden Lion discovered the clues and used armament hockey to resist Qin Zi's observation hockey, they still kept losing. Captain Qin Zi seems to be a different person all of a sudden. That's right, winning each hand is crisp and clear, just like knowing what cards the opponent is holding. What's going on here? It's completely different from the crazy loss at the beginning. These few hands have already won more than 40 million Baileys. Is Captain Shinzi learning so fast? Is it possible that this is the real face of Captain Shinzi, who was actually pretending at the beginning? Seems like a possibility. Quote. Some pirates looked at the scene in front of them and exclaimed. If Shinzi's winnings were like a slow stream before, then now it is a waterfall, completely undisguised, defeating the opponent at an extremely fast speed. This is completely two extremes from before. From the beginning when Xiaobai was ignorant and kept losing, to the stumbling in the middle, there were losses and wins, and now he controls the overall situation and wins consecutively. This can't help but make the pirates think of two possibilities. One is that Shinzi was indeed a novice at the beginning, but after several hands of experience, he is now fully familiar with this method and can find the right time to play cards. One is that Shinzi has been pretending. In fact, he has a chance to win from the very beginning, but he just keeps acting, making the opponent believe that he is a noob, and then relaxes his vigilance, and then disintegrates the opponent step by step. It was hard for them to believe that the transition was completed in such a short period of time, but they thought it was very possible to say that Shinzi was deliberately hiding his clumsiness because they only discovered it at this time. From the beginning to the end, Shinzi's expression didn't change at all, which was an indifference in controlling the overall situation. And this. It also reminded them of another question: with Shinzi's technology, would he lose 30 million Baileys? What the onlookers can think of, the Golden Lion and Akoku in the game of course can think of. In the game, the more they played to the end, the more certain they were about the guess in their hearts. Shinzi was not relying on luck at all, and he was not Xiaobai at all, because they clearly felt that their cards seemed to be transparent in front of him. A doubt arose in both of them at this time. Why can Shinzi see his own cards but not his? They looked at each other and quickly thought of a possibility. Shinzi's armament hockey not only reached the top level, but also observation hockey, which is much stronger than them. As soon as this idea appeared, it seemed to explode in their minds. Because only this can explain why one's own cards seemed to have been seen. Immediately, the two were terrified. Looking at Shinzi with a calm face in front of them, they knew that they were very wrong. This Shinzi was the existence that crushed them at all, but it was only now showing it. Thinking of this, Golden Lion felt like a clown again, and Akoku felt like a fish, still a hooked fish. Silver Axe, who was watching from the side, also noticed Shinzi's abnormality. If he could explain it with luck when he was on the field before, then Shinzi's performance now can only be explained by this possibility. For a while, regret rose in the hearts of the three. Playing cards with Shinzi was more than irrational, it was simply stupid. Suddenly, Akoku seemed to think of something, looked up and glanced around. Where's John? Hearing Akoku's words, everyone couldn't help but look around. Captain John is not here. After confirming the situation, a pirate said loudly. At the same time, a question arose in the hearts of everyone. Captain Akoku is betting, why is he looking for John? Is it possible to borrow money from him? Seeing that John was not here at this time, Akoku affirmed the conjecture in his heart. This John lied to himself from the beginning to the end. He 500 million won Baileys, and Shinzi was a fat sheep waiting to be slaughtered. They were all lies fabricated by him. Akoku couldn't understand what kind of technology John had, at most he was just a little bit higher than himself. But if Shinzi wants to win 500 million berries at this level, it is nothing short of a dream. Let alone winning money, it will be fine if he doesn't lose 500 million berries. So, all of this is a lie fabricated by John, the purpose is to deceive himself and Silver Axe. Thinking of this, the anger in Akoku's heart rose slowly, and the whole person stayed there, like the calm before the storm. Seeing this scene, Shinzi picked up a gem and weighed it in his hand. Hey, are you in a daze? Are you still playing? Hearing this, Akoku burst out directly. What a fart. Where is that boy John? Where did he die? The pirates were taken aback by Akoku's sudden uproar, and took a step back. Another question arose in my heart, what happened to Akoku? He got violent while playing, lost money to Shinzi, why are you calling John? Shinzi smiled when he saw this, the bet seemed to be over, but there was a good show to watch next. Because at this time Akoku should have discovered that John was lying to him, otherwise he would not have mentioned his name suddenly. Hey, Akoku, why are you looking for John? Golden Lion didn't want to continue playing at this time either, he had already lost more than 20 million Baileys. If he continued to play, there was no doubt that with Shinzi's means, he would lose even more. But he didn't understand what Akoku meant by looking for John. After losing money, shouldn't he also be looking for Shinzi? Also with this question, there is Silver Axe beside him, he also wonders about Akoku's action. Sudden, he seemed to have reacted, looked at Akoku, his eyes met, and the other's eyes were full of anger, confirming Silver Axe's guess. This is a game against himself and Akoku. Immediately, Silver Axe became angry. Where's John? Amidst everyone's doubts, Silver Axe also started to find John. As a result, the center of gravity of the original poker venue has completely changed. The expressions of the captains on the field are different. Akoku and Silver Axe were about to go berserk. Golden Lion had question marks on his face, while Shinzi watched all this with a smile. What's the situation? It's a game of cards, why did it change like this? If you lose money, you just go berserk. The captains shouldn't be the ones who can't afford to lose. I don't know, but what the hell are you looking for, John? The pirates were very puzzled. What was the situation? How could an outsider affect the people on the gaming table? Akoku, can you explain? Seeing that his question had not been answered, Golden Lion looked slightly unhappy, and asked again hastily. Hearing what the Golden Lion said, Akoku suppressed his inner emotions and spoke. The one who said Shinzi lost money is John. Hearing this, Golden Lion frowned, then his expression changed, and he immediately understood that John was lying. Because Shinzi's technology, Golden Lion has just spent 20 million Baileys to personally inspect it, and it is not as bad as the rumors say. He said that Shinzi lost 500 million to him. As soon as these words came out, the audience was silent, and everyone was dumbfounded. Immediately afterwards, heated discussions erupted among the pirates. What's the situation with this tea? About 30 million, about 500 million. Nima, I don't understand. What the hell, why is the situation so complicated? I just want to watch the captains play cards, why do I feel like I'm starting to burn my brain? Good guy, my curiosity has been successfully aroused. The moment Akoku said 500 million, Shinzi was a little dazed. This John really dares to say it. He directly said that he lost 500 million, knowing that he would lie, but he did not expect such a large sum. The key is that these two captains still believe it. Shinzi thought he was good at fooling around, but he didn't expect John to be even more. John should be in the room now, you can go find him. At this time, Shinzi reported an address for them and solved their problems in time. Why are you still standing there? Go over. Golden Lion also became angry at this time, threw the cards on the table, and shouted loudly. Ever since, take the lead of the three captains, followed by some pirates who want to watch the show, and go to John's room to kill, in a mighty way. At the same time, in an extremely luxuriously decorated boathouse, a man wearing a red robe and long curly hair was sitting on the seat and cleaning his western sword. While wiping, he was still thinking about what happened after Shinzi won the money. I wonder how much money Shinzi can win this time. How much can I get by then? If the money is used to pay off debts, it should be able to offset part of it. I don't know what's going on outside, but if I don't want to see Shinzi winning money, I decided to go out to see how Akoku and Silver Axe, these two big brains, lost everything. After a while, the western sword was polished and shiny by him, like a mirror, which could reflect John's face. Pick up the western sword and dance a few times in the air. From the corner of his eye, on the mirror-like body of the western sword, John seemed to see a group of people coming from outside the window. For some reason, a bad premonition surged in his heart. Before he could think further, suddenly, a loud voice sounded. Boom! Looking for prestige. At the door, standing Golden Lion, Akoku, Silver Axe and a group of pirates. The anger on the faces of the captains standing outside John's door was about to burst out, as if it had turned into substance. Seeing the expressions of the three captains, John's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately guessed their purpose. Such a menacing attack is only a possibility. The three of them lost money, and they have already doubted themselves. John, did you trick us on purpose? The first time Akoku saw John, he climbed up angrily and asked while clenching his fists. What are you talking about? Why can't I understand? John quickly defended himself. He knew that if he admitted this matter now, he would lie down and go out. However, how could these captains believe what John said? What are you beeping with him? Just give him a beating first. We will recruit everything after beating. As soon as the Golden Lion finished speaking, he rushed towards John, and Akoku and John immediately followed after hearing the words. John can block one person, but not the two behind him. Ever since, Captain John was captured by the three captains within a short while. The two supported him, and the one who dealt John a blow, beating and interrogating him at the same time. Say no. If you don't tell the truth today, go swimming in the sea. Akoku is now in a fit of rage, and he is completely merciless in his strikes, using both fists and kicks, making John scream again and again. And such a bizarre scene made all the pirates who came over stunned. What did Captain John do? It actually caused the anger of the three captains. Several captains beat up a captain. This. Ha ha ha. It's really exciting. The captain was beaten violently. It's the first time I've seen this scene. It's not a loss. Should I ask the captain to come over? Captain John was beaten a bit too badly. Don't worry about it. We don't care about the matters between the captains, and in our pirate group, the captain doesn't bother to care about such things. Quote quote. The pirates looked at John being beaten violently by the three captains, and they all looked like they were watching a show. John, who has always been in the Rocks pirate group, had his clothes torn and shoe prints all over his body. Especially on the face, there is an oversized shoe print, which is the mark left by Akoku's shoes. Many pirates have different expressions, some are worried, some are doubtful, some are excited, but most of them are watching a good show, cheering and cheering beside them, thinking that the trouble is not big enough, and some are even still fighting for the three captains. Come on and shout, let them start harder. Unlike them, the players belonging to John's team were silent at this moment, retreating to the rear position again and again. In such a scene, they were afraid that the three captains would fight up, so they dragged them up and beat them up. In John's room, hog-killing hoots echoed on the rocks. Chin-Z on the deck could feel the brutality of the trio's fight just by listening to it, and even if he didn't look at it, Chin-Z could see John's situation at this time through observation hockey. Under the torture of the three people in turn, John finally couldn't resist and confessed everything. Suddenly, the onlookers were in an uproar. I didn't expect Captain John to brag that he 500 million won from Chin-Z. He really is not afraid to flash his tongue when he speaks big. It's John who said it. The captains should be more troublesome. The person who said that Chin-Z lost, turned out to be the one who lost Chin-Z nearly 100 million berries, really shameless. Ha ha ha, I also set up a trap for Akoku and Captain Silveraxe, no wonder they were beaten so badly. Let me just say it. Captain Chin-Z must have deliberately played them at the time, and lost 30 million Baileys. Who would believe it? No one really believed this rumor at the time. You were the one who spoke the loudest at the time, and said that you would definitely get rich overnight. Quote quote. Everything about John was revealed in this way, and everyone knew about it. From betting with Chin-Z on the island, losing nearly 100 million Baileys, and now still owes Chin-Z a huge debt, to coming back and bragging with Akoku, Silveraxe, saying that they 500 million won, and finally setting up a game to let Akoku and the others went to Chin-Z to gamble. In the Rocks Pirates, it is not uncommon to stab brothers in the back, but it is very rare for them to be brought up to the public, especially among the captains. John's room. Seeing that John had all been recruited, the three of Golden Lion beat him for a while, and when they were almost exhausted, they slowly stopped the unilateral beating. At this time, looking at John again, he was completely out of shape. The clothes on his body are tattered, and through these tattered clothes, one can see that there are bruises and purple spots on the inside, and bloodline is all over his face, and he has entered a coma. The shiny western sword that he had wiped was also lying on the side at this time, covered with dust, and there were several footprints of different models on the sword body. Come some ship doctors and drag John to the infirmary. Akoku looked at John who had fainted, and shouted to the surrounding pirates. Although John was in a coma, none of the three captains killed him when they attacked. They were just injuries that could recover in a short period of time. After all, as the captain of the Rocks Pirates, no one other than Rocks dares to make decisions about his life and death. Because it is no problem to kill ordinary crew members, but if the captain dies or suffers irreversible injuries, it will be a great loss to the combat power of the entire Rocks pirate group. Hearing this, a few pirates emerged from the crowd, and under the watchful eyes of the three captains, carried John down. At the same time, at the top of a huge room sat a man with the head of an octopus. Rocks. Through the top-level observation hockey, he has been paying close attention to everything that happened just now, from the beginning of the game to the end, and then to John being beaten. But Rocks seemed more interested in Chinzi's current strength than John's beating. In such a short period of time, armament hockey has reached the top level, and observation hockey is also showing signs of breaking through. It is really a monster worthy of the name. Rocks whispered in a voice only he could hear. A gleam of light flashed in his eyes, and a weird smile crossed the corner of his mouth. Really interesting. John's being carried away did not completely dispel the anger of the three captains. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, they turned John's residence upside down. The big bag of money from the casino was finally found in a hole in the wall. And the originally luxuriously decorated room was also demolished in 7s and 8s. Seeing the actions of the three captains, these pirates called themselves experts. Because of such snatching, they did too much. At this time, they all felt that compared with the captains, it was just playing tricks. The captains were not only quick and ruthless, but the process of robbery was not sloppy at all. Captain John is really miserable. Not only was he beaten and lying in the infirmary, but the old man was also beaten. No wonder they can be captains. We are too young to co-author. I thought a beating would be enough. Look at how the captains ransacked the house. Maybe it will be useful in the future. The captains really taught me a lesson. Quote, quote. The actions of the three captains, in the eyes of the pirates, not only do not feel disdainful, but they think that the actions of the captains are very reasonable in a way worth learning. Over the years, it took them a long time to search for the treasure, but the captains completed all the processes within 1 minute, with extremely high efficiency. There are some bold and careful pirates who took advantage of the time when the captains were beating John, and took some valuables inside. However, unlike the excitement of the pirates, the three captains were all a little puzzled at the moment, looking at the big bag. It doesn't make sense. Where did John hide his money? He must have more than that. This fool is allotted gold. Forget it, let's go. This time he is lucky. While talking, the three captains left John's residence carrying a big bag. And this scene was seen by Chinzi on the deck. These captains are really merciless. Hearing this, Whitebeard, who has never left beside him, folded his hands in front of his chest. Gu la la la, Chinzi, this game is well set up. Hearing Whitebeard's words, Chinzi shrugged. Ha ha ha. In fact, I was passive. They came to the door and asked me to play with them. Ever since Chinzi came back, he never thought about betting against the other captains. It's just that John took the initiative to come to the door, and Chinzi saw that there was money to be made, so he went along with the flow and did it. After all, this money is not earned in vain. As for whether to worry about the three captains making trouble for him, this is completely out of Chinzi's consideration. If he is looking for it, he is looking for John. Gu la la la. No matter what, it's rare to see them fighting each other. It's an eye-opener for me. Whitebeard laughed. For a long time, Whitebeard has not dealt with the other captains very much, and their ideas are completely different. They are people who put their interests first, while Whitebeard's love is first. But this time, I can see them losing money and fighting together without any mercy, but I feel very comfortable in my heart. At the same time, he also admired Chinzi even more, since he obviously didn't do anything earth-shattering. But he can still make the captains fight, and he seems to be out of it. Hearing what Whitebeard said, Chinzi raised his eyebrows. In the end, isn't there greed at work? Okay, the show is over, pack up and go back. Kaido, pack all the money and take it to my room. Chinzi got up, patted the clothes on his body, and turned to Kaido and said. Hearing this, Kaido's forehead went dark, and he was extremely depressed. He just finished serving as a servant, and now he has to work as a coolie. He felt that the vice captain was entirely for Chinzi. However, although he complained in his heart, he still fulfilled Chinzi's orders in a practical manner. And with the painful price John paid, this matter also came to an end. Because he was on the boat before, Chinzi was called a monster by people. After Chinzi showed his superb technique, he gained a new title in the Rocks Pirates. Gambling monster. Time passed quickly, and 10 or so days passed without knowing it on the boat. During this period of time, Chinzi is still training himself day after day. Counting the time, it has been almost 5 months since he came to this world of pirates. In terms of strength, Chinzi's strength has improved significantly compared to when he played against Zephyr before. The first is on Conqueror's Hockey. Observation Hockey has now passed the test of Chinzi, and now it has half a foot into the advanced level, and it is just a step away from reading the future. Armament Hockey, on the other hand, stays at the high-level elementary level, and has a tendency to attack the intermediate level. As for Conqueror's Hockey, it is the slowest to improve. This may be because Conquerors cannot be improved by practicing, so no substantial progress can be seen. The second is Speed and Strength. After the last battle, through these days of training, there has been significant improvement. Almost every day is much stronger than the previous day, but then it slows down. Although it is still improving, it is not as obvious as the previous few days. This made Chinzi gradually understand one thing: during the battle and the few days after the battle, it is the time for the fastest progress. Finally, in terms of physical fitness, Chinzi can be said to be invulnerable. Because Chinzi used Armament Hockey's finger to rub himself violently when he was idle before, and there was no trace left on his body. This reminds Chinzi of the story about the strongest spear and the strongest shield. Although this behavior has a tendency to self-mutilation, it also reflects the strength of the physical body. After all, even if Chinzi didn't use all his strength, his power was extraordinary. The strength of his fingers was comparable to a blow from a great swordsman. In addition, during these days, Chinzi also conducted an assessment and review of the team members. Follow a concept: survival of the fittest. The rules are very simple. As the chief examiner, the vice captain Kaido, as long as he can get a stick from him, it will be considered a pass. In the end, after some testing, among the dozen or so players, only one remained. The remaining ones either gave up directly, or were beaten to the ground by Kaido and vomited blood. For this reason, Chinzi also took some money for severance pay and medical expenses for them. Ever since, the fan team, which was originally small in number, now after Chinzi's toss, there are only 4 people left in the end, including Chinzi himself. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.